back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 119, which is the 1977 film Annie Hall, directed, of course, by Mr. Woody Allen and starring Woody Allen and Diane Keaton, the very famous rom-com that sort of defined rom-coms for generations and generations. A very fascinating film. But this was actually a suggestion to us by one of our viewers or one of our fans on Discord, who is a really great guy and Norwegian guy, and has suggested the Norwegian film The Worst Person in the World from 2021, directed by Joachim. And that film was actually nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Best Original Screenplay and one for Best International Feature Film. And it was really, really cool. Loved the film. Rare thing. Neither Eric or Dan or I had ever seen this film, and we absolutely adored it. So it was a gift to us, and we really appreciate that being happening. So thank you very, very, very much for doing that. Speaking of Discord, if you'd like to be part of our Discord and make recommendations of films, we would love to have them. So if you're watching us on YouTube, just go to the comment section below here, and we should have a Discord link right there. If you're not following us on YouTube, we would love your follow on YouTube. So just go to youtube.com/@martinigiant. Again, that is youtube.com/@martinigiant. And just let us, join our Discord there and follow us and subscribe to our YouTube. We'd love to have that. All of that's free, obviously. But speaking of other things, we also give a couple announcements. We actually do all of these recordings on Twitch. And when we don't do recordings, we actually do watch parties. And this Saturday, which is going to be April 22nd, we should be doing a watch party. If we don't, we're probably going to have, we cancel at the last minute, something weird like that. Anyway, we'd love to have you there. And if you can, follow us on Twitch. It is twitch.tv/@martini_giant. I know, I'm sorry about that. But it's twitch.tv/martini_giant. And just we'll love to see you there. And so we're going to plan on doing a watch party. We haven't figured out what we're going to do about it yet. Watch parties are through Amazon Prime. So if you have an Amazon Prime account, you're all set to go. And we'd love to have you be part of that as well. All right, but for now, enjoy episode number 119, which is Annie Hall and The Worst Person in the World. Enjoy. Oh, EJZ's here. Cool. Nice. This is his suggestion, so we will very excited to talk about it. What is going on, guys? The suggestion for this movie came from EJZ, who's been a big supporter of ours. Also happens to be from the beautiful country of Norway, so he is up super, super late.
Excellent! Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, and
the suggestion, yes.
And so we are very excited to do this. This was his suggestion. So he suggested Annie Hall, which we've all seen a million times. Love this movie. If you haven't seen Annie Hall, it is one of the greatest comedies around.
Yep, that's true.
That Woody Allen did. Probably one of his most popular film. Definitely one that got the most attention.
Yeah, of his very best movies, easily.
Yeah. You can argue that there are other movies that you like more of his or not, but this one is kind of universally seen as one of the.
I think it's like it is his best made, funniest movie. There are he has a couple better made movies than this, but they're not as funny. So this is the one that carries it on all cylinders.
Yes.
Go ahead.
For me, the best films he did are Broadway Danny Rose, Hannah and Her Sisters, and Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Right, yeah, I'm huge Crimes and Misdemeanors fan. Huge
Hannah and Her Sisters fan.
Hannah and Her Sisters. Huge. What's the other one? There's another one from the same. Anyway,
Broadway Danny Rose.
Broadway. I'm actually a giant fan of. Nobody talks about Stardust Memories, but I love Stardust Memories as well. But Broadway Danny Rose is one of his top 3 funniest easily. That's like that and Bananas and Sleeper and Annie Hall and all that stuff. Yeah, that's very true. But however,
those were a little goofy. Like Bananas and Sleeper were the goofy phase of.
Yeah, there's different chapters of his of his career.
This is the beginning of relationship talking.
Yeah, Annie Hall is his first like I am a serious filmmaker movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's such a debut in that zone. I don't know if anyone's really done that since. Like that is a like
masterwork.
Yeah, it's an absolute like it's a masterpiece of the 20th century. I think is the way to say that one. And in terms of like, I mean, he's already a filmmaker. He already knows how to make movies and whatnot. But like the jump between his last movie and Annie Hall is like, just night and day. So I'm not even sure what his last one was before that, but it was probably something like
no, he did the movie Take the Money. No,
Take the Money.
No, it was Play It Against Sam.
Play It Against
and
Sam.
And he didn't direct it.
Yeah, and before the one he directed was Love and Death, maybe, I think.
Yes.
Which is good, which is funny. But Annie Hall is like an absolute through the moon rocket shot. So that's fantastic. The other movie we're doing, of course, is a movie that I've never seen.
None of us had seen.
None of us had seen. So
whose idea was it?
Was it JC's?
Which is very exciting because I agree with you. This is
beautiful.
This is a great combo. This is a perfect combo.
It was a great suggestion. And the movie is The Worst Person in the World, which is a Norwegian film that came out in 2021.
Yep, by Joachim Trier. Is that, I'm not if I'm pronouncing any of that correctly. And I don't think that he's no like I didn't think he was related to Lars von Trier, but it was like I was expecting, because of the name, this is entirely idiotic. I always expected his movies to be von Trier-ish before I saw them, and they're not. They're entirely different. And I just sort of like because I had not thought it through, I just thought it was in the same sort of that kind of zone of filmmaking, and I'm completely incorrect.
Yeah,
happy to say.
It was a really good suggestion. They're not necessarily similar movies, but there's a lot to talk about the juxtaposition of these two films.
Yeah.
Really, really great. And a great film. I loved it.
Yeah. I love it.
It's terrific.
I will say that I think they got, they did a lot of shots with like an f/0.8 lens.
Yeah, right.
Like
exactly.
The field is like one eye is in focus, the other one is not.
You could shave with that depth of field. That was just like, it was so crazy. That was crazy. But it's beautifully done. We'll get into it. This guy has directed one other movie that I've seen, which is 31st of Oslo. The Oslo something 31st, May 31st, or something like this. And it's which is a brilliantly made movie about sort of an ex-junkie character, and it's really great. And he has one other movie that I have not seen called Louder Than Bombs, which I'm told is very good. But now I'm going to watch that one. Like, now I'm convinced by this guy completely.
Jason says Von Trapp, by the way.
Von Trapp. Lars Von Trapp. That's who we need to see.
It's a trap.
I would love to see Lars von Trier's version of Sound of Music. That would be amazing. He's already made an incredible musical. Yeah, perfect. Right. Lars von Trapp. That could be perfect.
All right.
Also, Jason, I just want to say thank you very much for the excellent mug.
Oh, I can't see it, unfortunately.
This is a mug he made based off another project that I'm working on.
Okay.
And I thought it was lovely, and I drink from it every morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're available on his website. He is welcome to post.
There you go. Yes. Oh, did he put it on our Discord?
You hope so.
You can put it under your shameless plugs, Jason.
Shameless plugs.
Yeah.
No, this is one of my two favorite coffee mugs. The other one being the Martini Giant coffee mug. So there we go.
There you go. All right. So let's get into Annie Hall. I'm assuming most people have seen this film.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the case. I mean, that's part of the services that we provide here at Martini Giant, is we will help you with the viewing of this film.
That's right. If you have it.
Yeah. What was interesting is my mind always, when I remember Annie Hall, I remember it linearly.
Oh, yeah. It's totally not that.
It's completely out of, and it's completely jump cuts all the time. But somehow I reassemble it in my mind as a memory linearly, which is interesting. Because it starts off almost at the end of the film.
Right. It's emotional tenet.
Right.
We'll figure it out later.
Yeah. It starts off with him,
Mhm.
with Woody Allen saying some jokes about, what were the opening jokes that he talks about?
But the portions are small.
Yeah,
the portions are small.
the
Horrible.
Adirondack Mountains, or the whatever.
Yeah,
it
the
is,
food is terrible and the portions are so small, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
But
so
he starts out talking directly to the camera.
to the camera. That's right.
So it's a fourth wall breaking movie in many, many ways. Woody Allen
He breaks the fourth wall constantly in this film.
constantly. Right.
Right.
So he's both narrating and he's sort of commenting, and he'll stop talking in the middle of scenes to talk to the camera. And nobody else in the movie is aware that this is possible. And you've seen this later in things. I mean, it's been used a lot, but like this is one of the first major comedies to sort of bring that out as a thing.
He also it goes to strangers on the street and continues a conversation with them that they just sort of go right into without
right.
Yeah,
he's perfect. He has total narrative control of how he involves everybody else in the sequence.
Down to what is it called? When he's talking to her on the porch and they have the subtitles.
Oh yeah, it's the best. Oh my god, it's so funny. Like, because it's translating what they're really saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I must sound like FM radio. Yeah, that's pretty great. So yeah, there's lots of weird postmodern sort of tools that are used. Deconstructionist tools. But it is not a novel to be novel. It's not like annoyingly novel.
No.
Everything flows together and makes it feel like how you think about, like how you sort through your own memories of things.
But the thing about that, watching this again, when I was in college, I used to, even before that, I used to listen to a stand-up tape, like heavy rotation, like all the time. And his stand-up, like all the stuff at like the Vanguard, all that stuff, it was very much storytelling. Mm-hmm. And it cut through in the same kind of editorial way, and he's like, my first wife, let me go back a little bit. I was married the first time. And then they asked, because she was recently accosted on the street and they asked for a quote from me. I said, knowing her, it wasn't a moving violation, and it was, but he's like, I like to refer to my marriage as the Oxbow incident, but I need to go back. And so he's always has this and all these characters coming in, and that's his style. And it really, I've seen all his stuff so many times, but it does, after a break, you realize that's his stand-up style, because he does introduce all these kind of, let me go back and explain. Okay, so now I'm with this guy. He's my rabbi, and I go to my rabbi, and then and then I go back. And in the same way, you're going back, like she's a classic Jew hater to the grandma, and she shakes her head, and then it's just like little bits like that. That's his genius.
Yeah, and because like what really makes it work brilliantly is that like he there are plenty of people who have tried to imitate this shtick, right? And it only kind of works because they only transpose the sort of the storytelling aspect of it, like bringing the stand up in, just sort of doing a stand up and then editing according to the stand up, for instance. But like he is also building things visually that are telling and augmenting story that isn't just an example of what he is saying, but they are also adding layers to what he's saying, so he doesn't have to say that also, right? And so like it weaves in and around and back on itself in this very, very complex sort of it's like when you make a baklava and you're just like folding the dough over a million times until it's like a zillion little layers, and once it starts calling back onto things that you now know intimately from earlier, it cuts to a thing and you're like, oh, I have a deep context for this, as if it's my own memory before we even talk about it, and it's a really it's to do that kind of thing and also make it instantly digestible is phenomenal. Like it's like if you're reading if you're reading a great novel, like one of the great novels, like you have the the time to think things through and connect things yourself. But a movie moves at a certain speed that usually makes it difficult to get that much information together at once and make it coherent and enjoyable. And he found a way to mesh it so densely and so seamlessly that it just feels like a light comedy when actually it's as deep as anything. And really phenomenal, incredible work.
The one that is interesting to me that I always remembered as some strong in Annie Hall, where you realize the person he is, or that it's not really a comedy or something going on, is when he's with the other girl and he's trying to get the lobsters into the pot, and she's making the jokes, and she's like, "I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it."
Just like, what is
she's like, "I don't." And then he just looks at her, and you realize, oh, she's so fucking boring. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But he doesn't say anything. Like it just ends, and it's like, it's a beautiful scene because suddenly it's like, it's sad. Like suddenly you feel sad for him. Like when you just seconds ago, you were laughing at his goofiness.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, because you feel what he's feeling right there. You're like,
right.
Ugh. Like you're just like, ugh, I'm on a terrible date. You know, like you just say, like, yeah, like you're not thinking he must be feeling this. You're thinking I am feeling this.
Right.
It's like he's such a like I don't know what, I wish I knew what his process was, like, you know, like putting himself in this space to make this movie, because like we said, it's like, how do you go from making something like Love and Death, which is basically like an SNL, gag reel,
right,
to something like this? It's such a radical transition. Like,
he was mimicking Bob Hope style movies, and then he started to, I think, possibly maybe play it against Sam, since he didn't direct, he was acting in it. He's like, that's my same act, and maybe he came across a thought like, there's got to be more. And he was a serious cinephile too, so it's like, why am I acting, slapsticky?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. It's like there's suddenly so much confidence in the filmmaking, like it's not trying to, like, it's not trying for the laugh anymore, And his other movies are super funny, but they're shot so that you are focused on the joke, and which is how standard comedy filmmaking. It's like there's nothing really novel about how, say, Sleeper is photographed, for instance.
No.
But it's like once
not
he starts,
at all.
Yeah. Well, once Conrad Hall, was it Conrad Hall shot Annie Hall? I can't remember. But like,
Connie Hall. I think he did that and Stardust and
like he's really he's really working with someone to build a movie instead of just report the gags. I think the only thing that comes close anytime recently, I was like shocked when I was watching Severance, which I loved, which is one of the best things I've seen ever on streaming. I didn't know it was directed by Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And like, I like Ben Stiller's movies. Like we did, what do you call it? What's the, what do we did,
Around the World.
Walter Mitty. Yeah. And like, I thought, I was like, oh, this is a very sweet movie. I like this a lot, and it seems like the work of someone who's like a comedian who's learned to direct, and it's good. Tropic Thunder is very good. And, all this kind of stuff. And then I see Severance and I'm like, where the fuck did this guy come from?
Yeah.
It's just like, he's just like, enough of the bullshit. Like, let's make some real stuff. And it was really like, it's very fulfilling to me to see that, because like, I'm so used to just like, I don't know, you just go like
Zoolander.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You go from Zoolander to Severance.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No knock on Zoolander. Zoolander still is hilarious.
But that's the thing, right? Is he can do that. He can pull off Zoolander.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, this is a huge movie for me in terms of my youth as a movie freak, when I discovered Annie Hall and all the rest of the movies from that period. And it changed. I mean, for anybody, like, it changed my writing. It changed how I look at making stuff. It's a legendary thing.
So at the beginning, he's talking to camera, as you mentioned, and he's talking about that he broke up with Annie. So you immediately start with, I broke up with Annie and it's really sad. And then he starts talking about his his youth growing up in Brooklyn. So then we jump to the earliest part when he was a child in school, which is hilarious.
Right.
Talking about how stupid all the kids were.
But then he's in the classroom, which breaks that whole. It's amazing.
I know.
It's so good.
But I was like, so and so, always the wrong answer. 3 and 2 is 7. I think that's like the original face palm. Like it's like probably
so good. all those kids. He's like, I wonder where my classmates are now. Just like, I used to be a heroin addict. Now I'm a methadone addict.
There's all these little kids just standing up and saying, like, and this little girl with these sniffly nose and she's did these big glasses and he goes, I'm into leather.
It's incredible. So good. So good. But yeah, and so you have the kid he cast as his younger self is great, which he also did perfect. He also did that really beautifully in Radio Days with what's his name? He's now famous as an actor himself, but I can't think of it. Anyway, he's like he really understands like his own sensibilities, like his own how to cast outside of himself, I guess. And
who was Radio Days?
It's Seth Green.
Seth Green. That's right.
Yeah. I would check, but the only thing that works on my computer is this window.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, this is if I happen to suddenly be vaporized, I will be back. My computer is on thin ice. We'll see how it goes. It's got enough cycles going to carry the video feed. That's about where we're at.
Yeah. So he's he also talks about his mother, who is very worried about him because he stopped studying and takes him to a doctor. And he explains that the reason
going to end.
He's like, the universe is expanding. What does it matter?
Right.
His mother's like, Brooklyn is not expanding. What does that have to do with you?
The universe will be expanding for millions of years. So, we're going to try to enjoy ourselves while we're here. And he's like, oh, Christ.
It's really
You're
funny.
not helping.
Really funny. And we also learned that they lived in a house that was just below the roller coaster at Coney Island.
It's such a great, like these little weird mat gags and stuff like this. Just like, as he says, like, like I live below the roller coaster at Coney Island. And you literally see it. You're like, I don't think that's where you put a house, but yes, this makes sense. Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, so like it flops around between his actual history growing up. Yeah, so initially it starts as a flashback, which is a familiar technique to everybody, right?
Sure.
But then it sort of tightens up its flashback loop till you're simply jumping around in recent history.
Right.
So it introduces the idea of how the time flows by starting with flashbacks. Right. And making really like the fourth wall breaking really sort of egregious and obvious in ways that teach you how to read the film.
Yeah, and he's controlling the flow the whole time.
Right. And so like by the time you get to the later parts of the movie, like the movie has taught you how to watch the movie, so you understand what the flow is. But it's like we're used to all this stuff now, but it was really pretty brand new.
Yeah,
when it came out, and it's hard to like we've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, we've seen blah blah.
All of that is because of him.
It's really all, at least like it was explored so thoroughly with this.
Yeah,
that I mean, it's essentially the first time.
Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly.
Deadpool is exactly this format where he's jumping around all over the place and breaking the fourth wall and doing all those things, right?
And to compliment Deadpool, like they kept what I really liked about Deadpool 1 is that like almost the entire movie happens in the car accident or the car crash. And it's always using that as the hub and coming back around. And that's what he essentially does with this. Right. He's like, like the core of the movie is Annie and I broke up. Which is like the first line of the movie. And everything comes in and out from that point. Right. And you never lose the flow because you always come back through the hub.
Yes. For sure. For sure. I also want to note that was one of the things I thought was hilarious in the roller coaster is that he's in the house and the roller coaster, you can see it outside and the whole house is shaking and he's trying to eat soup, which is the worst thing to try to eat when the whole house is shaking.
It's so good, man. Like, they're just endless great gags. Everything with the family is amazing. Like the whole cast he has for his family.
The split screen on the cast is great.
Split screen on the cast is very good, and we'll get to that one as well. But so then we go from that scene, we jump to him waiting at a movie theater for Annie to show up to see a movie.
Right. And it's fucking the sorrow and the pity.
No, it's not the sorrow and the pity. Yes, it is.
It's sorrow and the pity, right?
And then they go see, and that's
Triumph for the Will, or not Triumph for the Will, but like something. The lights.
He's waiting for her, and she.
Alvy. Hey, you're the guy from TV.
These two greaseballs come by and like, I've seen you on TV.
Singer.
This is Alvy
Singer right here.
Where I'm hanging out here with the cast and crew of The Godfather. Where are you?
You guys named Cheech. Oh my God.
He's like, well, he's signing for my wife. He's like, what's your name? Ralph. That's for my brother.
That's for my brother. Oh my God. Yeah, and so we're introduced to Annie Hall, who was played by Diane Keaton, one of the greatest roles of all time.
Yeah.
And she
won an Oscar for this.
She won an Oscar for this. She's incredible. She's absolutely incredible. Best.
This movie, by the way, was nominated for 5 Oscars and won 4 of them.
Yeah. This is
the only one that didn't win was his role as a actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
And this, and she is so like the cat, like Diane Keaton. He was already working with her from Love and Death and stuff like that.
Right.
That like. She is
and Sleeper too,
and Sleeper, and and like she's good in those movies, but it could have been anybody in those movies. Whereas like without her, you don't have a movie.
You don't have La Di Da.
No,
she started a whole style revolution too with that clothing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like really, just like one of the great performances.
La Di Da, la.
Like and so like the
Karen
movie
was saying that yesterday to me.
La Di Da, la Di Da, la la la. Yeah, like she by casting her, like you fall in love with her as much as he fell in love with her.
Right.
And
well, she's kooky.
Yeah. And yeah. Like this is
that's her thing.
Right.
But smart.
Yes.
Right. Because it's the like.
But she doesn't think she's smart. She thinks she doesn't.
Insecure.
She's insecure.
Very. Yeah, I mean, like it's like the relationship, like how this plays out for everybody involved.
But that's the same way as our next film too.
Yes.
She starts the same way. It's genius.
Yeah. And but like she is like you get like the design of the film is you come to understand Woody Allen by coming to understand her. Like so she is the subject and he is she is the topic and he is the subject. Essentially is how that works. And so he comes to understand himself from understanding like what she meant to him. And so like initially when you first meet her, like he's annoyed and kind of gripey and being really anal retentive, and she's like a free spirit, and you're like, oh, it's like a breath of fresh air. This is amazing.
Right.
Like thank God, because like like he's been complaining for the first 12 minutes, and now here comes this like like refreshing, interesting, fun woman.
She comes in and she's befuzzled, right? She's like, oh, she's late.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
I was late for therapy or something.
Late for therapy or something like that, right? And so he's upset. And I was like, and then they go in and is like, how long?
I can't do it.
Movie started 3 minutes ago. Nope, can't do it. We'll have to wait a couple hours.
You just missed the titles. They're in Swedish.
I can't. I have to watch a movie from the beginning to the end. And he's like, nope. He's like,
because I'm anal. Yeah, that's a polite word for what you are.
Yeah. So then he makes her go see. What's the other movie he makes her go see?
Oh yeah,
the documentary about the Jews.
Yeah, that's the Star of the Pity.
Nuremberg trials.
Star of the Pity is the one where he goes. He takes like we should go see the Star because they're going to go see I think a Bergman movie, right? They're going to see it.
No, it was a Fellini movie.
Oh, Fellini. No, it's, they say the title's in Swedish, so I think it's a Bergman movie.
You're right.
But then he's like, no, let's go see the Star of the Pity, and she's like, I'm not in the mood for a 3-hour documentary on Nazis. It's another Star on the Pity is an amazing movie and everyone should see it, but still it's a good point. It's not like how you want to spend a date afternoon.
Well, we were just talking about this before, right? Like what are the films that you're gonna Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, like because like someone a guy that I follow on Twitter, right, he's a film question guy, so he's like, pick these from one of the which is your favorite from these 70s movies or whatever, and he lists like whatever. I forgot what it was, but it's like Apocalypse Now, Dog Day Afternoon, blah, 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 blah. And all these like incredible greats. And then at the end, it says Moonraker. And I was like, it's Moonraker. Obviously, you're going to pick Moonraker because if it's a Saturday afternoon, and so Chris throws in, yeah, because if it's Sophie's Choice or Overboard, you're going to watch Overboard. Like, you're not going to fucking watch that on a Saturday. It's silly.
No.
Yeah,
but he keeps playing.
He was being serious though.
Oh yeah, no, this dude was being serious. I was just like, oh my god, like, and everyone's like, how could you pick Moonraker? I'm like, come on, like, are you really gonna sit down and watch like, grim 3-hour war film, or are you gonna watch wherever you started from in Moonraker?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like Moonraker is terrible, but it's hysterical.
Yeah. We did that as a watch party, which was a hilarious one.
Like that
was one of our best ones.
No, it's incredible. I mean, just everyone who has not seen Moonraker, you have to see Moonraker just for the part when Richard Kiel, who's like a 7-foot tall, massive man, sneaks up on a guard who's like James Bond guard, totally ignorant, and puts his hand around his mouth, but his hand is so big, it covers the guy's whole face. If you think that's fun, that's your movie. James Bond, boom, there it is. Anyways, I agree with Annie Hall in this instance. Like, come on, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. So this was really, really hilarious. Also, when he's in line, this is one of the classic ones. There's someone behind him who's giving a dissertation about.
He's trying to impress his girlfriend.
And
it's clearly like a student of his that the guy is dating, right?
Right.
He's like some scumbag. And
I wish I had a large sock in the door.
And this guy's just pontificating about, something like, it's like being behind me in a film line. Like I'm just like fucking yattering on about some nonsense.
Right.
And then Woody Allen's like, oh God.
And
damn.
he keeps going, talking about Fellini, and then
and he brings up Marshall McLuhan. Right?
And well, first of all, the first thing that he does bring up Marshall McLuhan, but the thing that Alvy does is he's complaining to Annie about it. She goes, just stop listening to him. Just stop listening. Exactly, it's like, how can I, like, it's just driving me nuts. Right? It's just this guy's pontificating about bullshit. Right. And so then he comes out. This is another one. He starts breaking the ice. He walks out of line, goes directly to camera and says, why do I have to deal with this bullshit? And the guy comes up behind us it's like, I have the right to talk too.
Yeah,
and
I'll have you know, I'm a media studies professor, and they're like,
at Columbia,
it's City University or something.
Like, you don't know anything about Marshall McLuhan. I know. I happen to have written a book on on television and the arts, et cetera, et cetera. And so I know more about Marshall McLuhan. It's like, oh, really? And then
just a second,
Alvy goes behind this poster and drags at Marshall McLuhan from behind it. It's like, I was listening to what you were saying, and you know nothing of my work. You're a complete idiot.
So, how you got to teach a class in anything is amazing. Yeah, unbelievable.
Wouldn't it be great if life was like this?
It's just
perfect. Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Marshall McLuhan.
But that's like Marx Brothers almost.
Yeah, yes. It's utterly idiotic.
Totally.
Yeah. It's like this hyper intellectual version of Marx Brothers stuff, and like, which essentially comes down. This is what Woody Allen's about, generally speaking. Is like, he's a really, really smart guy who is interested in making films about these philosophical and moral challenges, and like he has real things to try to examine and say. But he also realizes that you can quickly go up your own ass when you talk about them, and so he keeps on reminding you that this stuff, like life is real and things are silly,
right.
And by constantly slapping you in the face with that, it keeps the realizations real, as opposed to like getting all, like, if you've seen a movie like, I don't know, like Mind Walk or something like that, so like, but halfway through you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm like stuck in a college dorm,
What is Mind Walk?
It's an okay movie. It's like this very, very talky, intellectual, like, talking about like the nature of the universe and atomic structures and stuff. I'm like, it's the shit that I do on a regular basis when I'm just like bullshitting with friends and and they're rolling their eyes. I do exactly this thing, but you can't make a movie about that. Like, it's annoying enough to have to listen to me do it. Like, you want to also remember that you're here for fun. Like, life is fun. Movies are good and entertaining, and he keeps on bringing that back up, and that's like, he plugs you into being happy again over and over and over. And he never loses the thread of what he's trying to say. that he always tries to say, correct for your own bullshit self-seriousness.
Yep. Really good.
Yeah.
So after they leave the 3-hour documentary about Nazis, they go back to his place, and he's trying to have sex with her, and she doesn't want to have sex. Right. So they're fighting over having sex or not. At which point she starts to make him talk about his previous wives, and we start to have a flashback of his previous wives.
But the best, this is where he watches her after he watches her sing, right?
No,
I think that's a little bit
that's later.
Right?
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. The movie jumps around so much, but yeah,
yes, that's later.
We are certainly at the tail end of their relationship. Like it's like when she sings, that is, she sings twice, right? Yeah,
she sings twice. Yeah. She sings the first time, and then that's on their first date.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the second time was when Paul Simon shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so and of course, like these songs are very symbolic of where she is at in her own growth.
Right.
And I think that's the movie is, it's like you keep thinking, like, relationships tend towards this attitude of like, you want to keep everything good and the same, right? But if you do that, your relationship falls apart.
Yeah.
And so like, there's a lot of like trying to recapture the magic stuff that ends up hurting things, and because you're trying to essentially connect, you're trying to replicate an old situation rather than invite a new one.
Build a new one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like that's what, so the seems like old times here with you, the song has a couple of different meanings in the movie. Like the one is like, isn't it wonderful that we can have this time again? Seems like old times. Well, and it also means like we are just fucking going around in circles. This is the same old shit. Like we are caught in this loop.
What we got here is a dead shark. All right, we'll get to that point at some point. But as he does that, then she makes him reminisce about his old wives that he had. So he was married at least twice before in this film. The first person that we meet is Carol Kane, who is just the best person in the world. And she's very young in this film, so she's very cute, very cute looking.
The funny is, Carol Kane is the hero of comedy. She's just incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't she in Taxi?
Yes.
Yes, she's in Latka's wife. Yeah.
She's Latka's wife in Taxi.
Yeah.
She is also really good as the ghost of Christmas present in Scrooged.
That's right. And other people may know her, of course, from Princess Bride. She's married to Billy Crystal.
Yes.
And
she also plays what's the unbelievable Kimmy Schmidt? That one?
Yeah.
She's in that series as well as the landlady.
Yeah. And I was going to throw in there, has anyone seen a movie I love that nobody else liked called The Dead Don't Die by Jim Jarmusch? Where she's a zombie.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Bill Murray?
Fucking love it. Yes, Bill Murray and Adam Driver. And it's fucking, this movie is hysterically funny to me. I've watched it 20 times. And it's a zombie movie. It's a deadpan zombie movie. And she plays a zombie with it. All she can say is Chardonnay. It's amazing. It's simply amazing. Chardonnay. Oh my God. Yeah. I encourage people who have not seen that movie because it was so poorly reviewed to see that movie.
Was it really poorly reviewed?
No, everyone, it got shredded. And then I put off seeing it. I was like, oh, maybe Jim Jarmusch has lost his magic. And I watched it. I was like, it's a fucking Jim Jarmusch movie. What's wrong with everybody? It's the same. It's, it's in the same.
World. That Blonde is getting got a Razzie Award for worst film of the year.
Oh, it's fucking kills me, man. It kills me. Kills me.
What?
I just don't understand it. Elvis is nominated for Best Picture, and Blonde gets the Razzie. What world are we living in?
Nominated at all?
No, for Best Actress, it was nominated for Best Actress in the Oscars this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's going to go to, what's her name? Michelle,
yeah. I mean, who's awesome. And it's great. But the heroic performance this year was, for me, De Armas and Blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe they gave it a Razzie. That's pathetic.
They're fucking idiots, man.
That's a masterpiece film.
Yes, it is. It is easily my favorite movie of the year. I've seen it 7 times now. absolute masterpiece. And
it was great.
It's going to be, it's just, it's going to be years before people look back and go, oh, look at that. We gave it to Elvis.
Yeah, well, we do that all the time, though.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that, Blade Runner was terribly reviewed as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it goes.
Okay, so where were we? Oh, right. So
my computer's back, and now I can see chat. Hello, chat. Good to see you.
Okay, so Carol Kane, he has a really great thing with Carol Kane where he basically realized...
Ben Sean
drawings.
Sorry. I love that line so much.
Yeah, when you start, he's like, so you're the New York left-wing Jewish intellectual, Upper West Side.
Ben Sean drawings.
Just lists everything about her to her face. She's
Thank you.
Thanks. I love being reduced to a cultural stereotype.
And then he says, well, and he's about to go on, and he's like, all right, well, say something encouraging. He goes, I think you're cute. And he's like, what?
Yeah. So good. So good.
And so he comes to realization that he ruined that relationship, even though she was perfect for him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because he couldn't have perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
And doesn't she have
he sabotages it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He just destroys things.
Right.
Because it's impossible for him to have true self-realization in all of this. And I guess ultimately I feel like the movie is slightly hopeful in that the movie is about him making realizations about his relationship with Annie Hall,
right?
Which he didn't really do with his other wives are sort of reduced to these caricatures on purpose to contrast against Annie Hall,
right?
And the failure of the relationship with Annie Hall feels like it might be the last failure to me. I think the last time I watched it, I was like, I don't think this is quite as bleak a movie as I originally took it to be.
Annie Hall?
Annie Hall.
No, I never took it as bleak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's slightly more hopeful than it.
Oh,
than
no.
Seems.
The next movie is much more bleak.
Yeah, no, the next relationship. Sorry.
No. The next relationship. Then he talks about his second wife, who is an author, and an intellectual snob, right?
Yes.
And all he wants to do is watch the basketball game while they're at a party.
Why are you watching a bunch of pituitary cases trying to stuff a ball through a hoop? Yeah, like fucking people like this make me crazy. This character is and Woody Allen has a lot of these in his movies, but this is like the antithesis of everything that Woody Allen believes.
Right,
is like the intellectual superior personality.
Yes,
who reads all the right smart magazines and has all the correct opinions about things and looks down their nose at enjoying shit.
there are plenty of those people, and they all live on Lexington Avenue.
Yeah, dude, and it's at least
Park Avenue.
At least 2/3 of Twitter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like she is like some of her lines in this are pure gold to me. Like she absolutely encapsulates this awful kind of person.
And he decides he wants to try to have sex with her for revenge on the people while at the party, and she's like, "Oh, you're disgusting," It's just like.
Yeah.
And then he tries to have sex with her, and she can't have an orgasm because the siren's going by. So she's constantly having problems sexually. And so we also quickly figure out that Alvy's very sexually, it's got a lot of sex on his brain all the time.
All the time. Right.
Yeah, that's his main driver.
And what does he... Oh, no, it's not here, but there's a line later. I'll bring it up later. It's a great line about this. I'll wait for it later. Sorry.
Okay. Masturbation?
No, dysentery.
Dysentery, yes.
Dysentery is my favorite. We'll get there.
Okay. So at this point, then he's back with Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And we see them just having fun together. Lots of fun together. And they're trying to cook lobsters. Mm-hmm. They're driving to basically the Hamptons. That's what it looks like.
And she's a horrifically bad driver.
Yeah, she is a horrifically bad driver, which we find out later because we haven't even got to when they first met yet. So that comes like in the middle of the movie.
It comes at the when we talk about Save the Cat all the time. It's the midpoint.
It's the midpoint.
It's that's the happy note where they're like it builds. It goes sad, happier, happiest, unhappy, unhappier, unhappier. Yeah, exactly.
So, but they're cooking. They're trying to cook lobsters together. She's trying to take pictures. They're laughing so hard. He hates the fact that they're lobsters, that they're alive. He says, I'm not dropping a lobster in the boiling water. That's cruel, but there's lobsters crawling all over the kitchen floor. And it's quite funny, right?
Put a dish of butter sauce behind the fridge.
Maybe he'll
chase him out. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, and it's so charming, and Diane Keaton is hysterically she's in on the joke, and she's like, it's funny as hell.
She's taking pictures while screaming.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely, and you want them to be together at that point,
right?
Like you're like, she's fucking fantastic. This is great. Right. I see everything that he sees in her,
and then we find out how they first met, which is in they're on double date playing tennis. Yeah, doubles tennis
on the East Side courts,
and he's with his friend. Who's his friend?
Tony Roberts.
Tony Roberts deserves his own mention because he's amazing in this film.
He was also in Play It Against Sam and all these other. I love that. He's so great.
Hysterical.
And he's also in Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes, exactly. He's the assistant to the mayor, right? And he's really, really great. And they call each other Max. They both call each other Max.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, and then
Max.
He keeps talking about how everyone is anti-Semitic, like for anything. It's like Jew eat. You see, he said Jew.
Wagner Max. Wagner.
I know there's a hidden meaning.
It's so good.
He also does a great shot with him, which he does this kind of. It was a super long shot where they're talking. You don't even see them in the frame. You're just looking down a sidewalk. And they're talking and talking. The camera's still holding still. People are kind of walking by. And then suddenly you see them. Oh, there they are. Way in the background.
Way the hell down there.
I think it's Gordon Willis. Was it Gordon Willis that shot it?
Yeah, I believe so. Gordon Willis, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Now, he did that shot. That's the Waldorf shot at the Broadway Danny Rose, where everything is synced up. And he's like, what do you mean new management? By the time he gets to in front of the camera, he lost his job.
Yep. It's perfectly mapped out. You're right. Yeah, it's Gordon Willis.
Those are tricky. But the one in Annie Hall is a little more improv, where the one which is the Waldorf shot,
the timing is like
your timing is like, I want to get new management. I want to get new management.
Yeah, perfectly blocked scene. And the thing is, like, I just saw. I don't know if I talked about it on air, but like I just saw The Fabelmans, which I actually enjoyed quite a bit. But like, I do not take the time to appreciate good blocking enough. Like,
but Spielberg is king of blocking.
It's just insanity. The stuff that he pulls off, you're like, it's so deft you don't even know what's happening until it happened, and you're like, wait, was that over here? Yeah, like people moving in and out of the frame. It just like it's like watching great ballet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and actually, someone did a really great analysis of that on YouTube, breaking down the tension and the blocking in. Minority Report. Minority Report has some excellent blocking.
Phenomenal. I just rewatched that a few days ago, and I was just like, this movie is like, he is like, I really like, I and not to go off on the Spielberg thing, but like after watching Fabelmans, it made me think through
we always go off on different
goes. But like, I encourage people watching. It's also the Oscars weekend, so we should probably talk about that stuff also.
Sure.
But like but Fabelmans really made me think through what are the threads in Spielberg's career, which is Fabelmans wants me to do that. Like everyone thinks of his greatest movies, of course, Jaws, Close Encounters, etc. That run is flawless. But I really almost equally prefer his post 2000 run because it's so experimental and strange. Like the films aren't perfect. Now it's not like Jaws. But like he's swinging so hard.
What's funny about Jaws though is we were talking about it before is that he never thought of it as perfect. He thought it was a mess.
Oh yeah, and it was a nightmare to make.
For sure. Yeah, and credit has to be given to like Verna Fields Theater, who's like
he thought his career was over after Jaws. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be this is my last.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get back to Annie. So they meet at playing tennis. Then she comes out of the dressing room and they meet in the hallway and she chats it up with him and she seems interested in him. And she says, she asks, do you need a ride? She goes, oh, do you have a car? He goes, no, I was going to get a cab. Oh, I have a car.
So what do you ask?
Then why did why? It's like, well, maybe you can get it right. It's like, great. Where are you going? Uptown? No, I'm going downtown. Oh, well, I can go up there.
It's so good. It's like
very awkward. So awkward. It's great. So great.
It's the meetest. It's the cutest meet cute ever written.
It is. It's adorable.
It's adorable. Yeah. And she's got like this fucking sick like vest with a big
this is what she's wearing right behind us. Right behind us.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Absolutely fucking great.
So she does have this really kind of funky way that she's dressing compared to everyone else, which is kind of part of it. She's wearing a tie, she's wearing a vest, she's got this funky weird hat, like you said.
That was a big deal at that time.
Absolutely. She wore that. It's a total breakthrough. And the thing is, like, well, this is these are
the kind of outfits that changed the fashion, right? Her outfit changed fashion. Same thing with Bonnie and Clyde. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, nowadays, like, people are very quick to lay down the criticism of manic pixie dream girl stories. Like, there's it's just like girl that comes in, this wondrous girl that comes in to save the to make the hero's life better, and then he's saved and she flies away. And first of all, I want to point out that that's true for rom-coms, period. That's not just manic pixie dream boys are rom-coms. But in this movie, that's not what's happening, because Annie is equally as fucked up as he is. Like, these are like, she is like funky and weird and, attractive in a offbeat way in your standard manic pixie dream girl method. But she is just as flawed, completely lying to herself, totally imperfect, and just as searching as he is. And he is just unable to see it in himself until he sees it in her.
Right.
Yeah.
And and realistically, they see that in each other, and that's why things, the way they end things.
Right. So we also find out she's a terrible driver, that's mentioned before, and he's terrified in the car with her. But they finally go to her place, where they decide to. She offers him some wine, and they go outside on the patio to talk, which is the scene that's right behind us right now.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is they try to talk, and they do, small talk, but
they're trying to impress each other.
But she is saying, "Oh my God, I think I'm so dumb," right?
Well, what I said just sounds so stupid, but he's saying the exact same thing.
He's saying like, "Oh my God, I sound like FM radio."
Yeah,
right?
I'm so boring, and this is ridiculous. They're both like trying to sell, like, they're talking about her photography, and he's just like, "Well, of course, the medium is sort of a method of the expression of the," and just like talking at his ass completely, and all she can hear is like, "Oh my God, he thinks I'm a moron."
All she thinks is like, this guy's really, really smart. He thinks I'm a moron.
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly.
What the fuck am I saying? And so they're both insecure. They're both insecure in their different ways. Right.
Exactly.
And that's kind of their vulnerability. And that's kind of what's really interesting about it. Right. So yeah, I really, it's a great moment, but that's it. That's the midpoint. That's basically where they meet. What happens after that? God.
I mean, it's all. Like you're getting the tour.
Oh, right.
Like,
the singing. This is when the singing starts.
That's when the singing starts.
So she goes and she says, they try to set up a date, and they're like, "Oh no, I can't do it on that date. I'm singing. You're singing. Can I come?" And she's like, "No, I've never done it before, and I'm going to go in this club, and I don't know, And so he's like, "No, I want to go." Right. And so they go. He goes to see her. She's singing. She's singing very quietly, but she's still singing pretty well. But no one in the restaurant is paying attention to her.
Dishes are slamming down.
Down. People are talking over her. Like, it's not, and you can barely hear her. And you just hear this like, these people moving chairs around and all this racket. And she's very upset about it. And he says, "You were great." He goes, "Everyone hated me. You couldn't even hear me." She's very upset about it.
Yeah.
And so at which point he does, as I love this line too. It's like, "Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we kiss now? Because otherwise they're going to be waiting all night to figure out if we're going to kiss or not. We'll eat now. We'll get it over with, and then we can digest our food better."
It's so good. It's hysterical. Yeah. It's incredibly charming. And you can see like why this, like, you can see why they're attracted to each other. Right. And you can also see the seeds of why this later doesn't work. Like, it's all sort of wrapped up in the same sequence, And I think that's something that a lot of romance movies fail to do, is like people in rom-coms generally act like flawlessly upfront, then they make a mistake, and then things fall apart, and they have to recover it. This, in one scene, you're like, I totally see why they're falling for each other, and I bet these things are going to be problems.
Right. But the movie becomes more linear at this point. It becomes much more of now we're not jumping around as much.
Yeah, now we're in the decline.
Right. And so they decide to move in together. He buys books for her, trying to make her smarter. Right.
It's always a good choice, guys.
Always a good choice. Yeah. It's like ordering dinner for her at the restaurant. Don't do that.
Jesus.
Right. She encouraging her to take adult education classes at the university, so she becomes.
And the mirror line on that is fantastic. It's like, because adult education is so useful, blah, blah, blah. And then when he finds out that she might be sleeping with her teacher, he's like, adult education is such a shame. It's so good. And like all the books he gives her are like books on death. They're things that he should be dealing with that he's basically heaping on to her.
Right.
Like that's
she is a very lighthearted person.
Right.
They also end up going to meet her family.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great scene. I'm sure Eric is reminiscent like that. Those conversations around that table is to Eric and myself probably very, very familiar.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's like this beautiful like split screen happening between Annie's parents and his parents in this scene. It's incredible.
But the mother is talking about going to the swap meet, right? On Saturday. Oh, we should go to the swap meet on Saturday. Oh, it's wonderful. So and so. Oh, and her brother is Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
It's his first film, right? I think.
No, next up, Greenwich Village.
Yeah, there you go. It's very close to that. It's very, very close to that. And so, like, this incredible, like, because like everyone in there, like I forgot the actor who's playing her mom is very famous as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't think of her name, but yeah, like it's the subtle gags in this scene are so like there's one that's lived with me my whole life, and I don't know if he's in here today, but Todd's will know this one, which is it's like a Christmas dinner or whatever, and they're having ham. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Oh, how's your ham, Albie?" He goes, "Oh, it's great. It's dynamite ham." They're just like, we're not even going to pay attention to the fact that you're Jewish or ask if this is okay. We're just going to give you this, and you better fucking act correctly. Right. He's like, "No, it's dynamite ham." Like, buggers.
Best ham.
And then the grandmother looks at him,
and he looks at him and says, "Look, just classic Jew hater over here."
Classic Jew hater at the end of the table.
And then she's just looking at him, and they're rolling her eyes, and then you cut back to him, and he's literally in like a Hasidic like
beard
outfits, and like the most Jewish possible. Right?
It's so funny. It's hysterically funny. And then you open up on the split screen. Like the split screen happens to show.
He said, "This is nothing." He says, "Like this is nothing like my family." At which point the screen splits halfway exactly.
Both families start talking to each other over the split screen.
What are you doing for Passover?
Yeah.
We're gonna atone for our sins. What sins are those?
Why? I don't understand. To be honest, neither do we.
Exactly. And so like what's really great is like the way he integrates that particular form, like this kind of fourth wall breaking is super hard to do because it's easy to do the one character that can talk, right? But this, they don't break the scene. The characters who are interacting with each other just suddenly open up to each other as if they recognize they are visible. But they don't change their performance. Like they're being just as sort of dismissive and uninterested as they were with the rest of the family that they were just hanging with. Like it's just like blah, 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 blah. And so like they treat it as if it's absolutely real, and that's what makes it surreal. Right. And like that he has the sort of smarts to do. The only person who has done that well to me, even, like at all, but recently is Fleabag.
I love that show.
And her work with looking at the camera, the culmination of that gag is one of the most powerful emotional things I've seen on TV. Like it's such a beautiful, then spoiler alert for what I'm about to say. The main character, Fleabag, always has these little asides and looks at the camera like, can you believe this? Whatever. And then one of the characters, this guy, this priest that she's fallen for, like he's the sort of spiritual moral center of the show. And even though the relationship hasn't worked out that much, she continues to talk to him. And he finally says, who are you looking at when you look away like that? Who are you looking at? And then he starts looking at the camera as if he can also see what she is looking at. And you start I start getting really what the fuck is happening? Like the show is like breaking itself to get in touch with me emotionally. I was like, that's fucking gold, man. Like people use these kinds of jokes as fourth wall breaking jokes have become so rote now that we just sort of take it for granted. Then instead of really trying to use it to get at you in some way that you didn't expect. Like it used to be novel, and we've let that go until now.
She can get your attention just like Woody Allen does. And so it's very hard. It really depends on the actor. Yeah. Because it's you either hit it or you don't. And I love that show. I love the scripts. I got the book on all the scripts. It's really a beautiful show. Great, I rarely get excited about shows. But it really takes that actress.
She's in a new
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
I think she wrote it, right?
Yeah, I think she at least did. She co-wrote that, and she's done some other stuff recently too. But yeah, she's wonderful. And I like the director for Indiana Jones is not Spielberg. It's actually what's his name? Did Ford versus Ferrari and 310 to Yuma and stuff like that. So I have modest hopes for that. Mango, Copland, all that stuff. Yeah, and so Mangold. And he's very good. He handles that stuff well. And if she had something to do with the screenwriting, then that might actually be a good movie. It should be nice.
Anyway, they end up leaving the house. And there's a classic scene where Christopher Walken talks about how he has dreams of crashing into headlights.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
And so it kind of, because Alvy is like, this guy's wacko. And then
do back on planet Earth.
Do back on planet Earth.
Back on planet Earth, Dwayne.
And so
I can see the flames coming from the gasoline.
Well, I'm due back on planet Earth.
That's so incredible.
At which point they said, "Oh, well, you have to go to the airport." It's like, "No, Dwayne will drive you." And you can just see the three of them in the car, and the headlights are coming towards them, and you see Alvy's like, "Oh,
rain pouring on the windshield." Yeah, it's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny. And it was just kind of skip ahead a little bit because I want to make sure we get to the other one. But
sure.
We end up also going back to her singing, right? So now she's singing. The relationship, you can sense, is starting to fall apart. They're fighting about sex a lot more. They're doing all kinds of random stuff.
The bit when she can't have sex without smoking weed first. It's just like, that's just what, can we stop? Like, please don't smoke before we have sex. And she's like, okay, fine. They start getting it on, and the camera, and it's a beautiful effect shot.
She comes out of her body. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She like the camera pans as she sort of, the ghost, her soul steps up out of her body.
Right.
And goes and sort of sits
on a chair.
Right. And it's just a beautiful glass reflection shot. Like it's an in-camera gag, but it's like perfect tracking essentially. Right. And she sits down and she goes,
how did they do that? You put a glass on the side?
Yeah, you put a 3/4 glass in front of the camera, and you have a actor, you have Diane Keaton.
It's a reflection.
Right. And like she's like side lit against a black background. Yeah.
It's kind of like what they do in Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have a double playing her in the love scene.
It's Pepper's Ghost. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Pepper's Ghost. Yes. And so you pan off of that as she gets up and goes and sits down. And she goes like, Alvy, have you seen my drawing pad?
I think while you guys are doing that, I'm going to do some drawing. And she says, and he looks like, well, this is what I call removed. And she goes, well, you have my body. What else do you need?
What else do you need? And like, wait, did we talk about Shelley Duvall?
She's great. She's
like
the Dylan show.
The Dylan show with Shelley Duvall. No, she's at the religious. It's like Reverend Sung Young Moon or something like this. Right. Is like, and giving a big speech, and she's like she's dragged.
I think they filmed it at a Dylan show.
At a Dylan show, right? And I
could be wrong. At the
and
garden.
She's like people will come 1,000 miles just to touch the hem of his garment because that must be an enormous hem. Like so many great like. I'm sorry it took me so long to finish. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm getting feeling back in my jaw now. Oh my God. Yeah. It's just like this nonstop parade of hysterical gags in this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always having problems with sex, which is hilarious.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Although he has another one that's like, that's the most fun I've ever had without laughing.
That's a good one, man. That's so good.
Which is also a really good one. Anyway, then she ends up going to sing again. And this time her performance is much better in terms of the crowd and what she's singing, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, she's a little more stylized and in control of it. And like the performance is better. Yeah, much more confident. Yeah, exactly.
And it's great. And so she goes to...
And Paul Simon shows up.
She's at the bar with Alvy. And what's the name? Paul Simon's character's name? He's like I don't know who.
I don't know, Richard something.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to be some big music producer guy, right?
Yeah, he's in from LA.
He's in from LA, and he's got these very LA.
Yeah, they're so great.
LA-looking
this
people
is
there.
Sky or whatever the name was. So great.
So funny.
And what's the look that he uses a lot is there's women with very perky breasts without don't wear bras, right? So it's very perky.
Yeah,
that was totally 70s, wasn't it? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, I love that. I love seeing Simon because Simon was in a few movies, right? He is like One Trick Pony, and and so is Garfunkel. Like, at least he's in
one with Nicholson.
Yeah, he's in the one with Nicholson. He's in
Carnal Knowledge.
Carnal Knowledge. He's in Bad Timing. They're both totally awesome. And like, they were going to both be in Catch-22, but only one of them could be. I think it's like you got it was Garfunkel, and instead they cast Bob Balaban. And it was just, and Balaban's fucking hysterical in that movie, so I wouldn't take him out. But like, it's too bad they couldn't get the two of them together for a film. That would have been great. But yeah, he is very, very funny in this thing. He's a real like subtly sleazy music producer. Talks to Annie Hall. Just like, you're really great. Here's my card.
Yeah. We're staying at the Pierre. You should come by. We're going to have a party.
We
there.
have that thing. You know.
And Alvy's like, no, we have that thing. We can't
what
go.
Thing?
Like,
yeah, but the thing.
The thing. He basically does not want to go with a movie. But he's trying to get her a record deal, which to her would be really
a big thing.
A big deal. And he's like, nope, we're not going because the guy's hitting on you, right?
Yeah, because he's a selfish dick.
Yes. Oh,
did we lose Dan?
Damn this.
No, you're back. You're back.
Don't
touch it. Don't touch anything.
There we are. Yep, okay. So far.
So so then he's, he's anyway, not very doesn't go so well. But she ends up nonetheless going to LA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So she goes to LA, at which point they broke up at that point, right? No,
it's just they haven't broken up, but they're going through a tough time. And so
but they go to a party. They go to a party there, right?
Yeah, and Tony Roberts. They go out for Christmas to see Tony Roberts.
They go out to Christmas to see Tony Roberts, right? And at which point it's like one of his friends like, "Can you get me some Coke while you're in LA?" Like,
yeah,
the scene with the Coke is hilarious.
Oh my god, yeah. So, do you think you can
get some cocaine?
$5,000 an ounce, and it's like,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and the bit with Max in California is amazing because like he's driving around with Woody Allen and he's got like this nuclear radiation suit on,
right?
It's like it's the solar array,
plutonium.
Max. Yeah. Are we driving through plutonium?
Through plutonium? It takes out the gamma rays.
California, Max. It's where it's at.
That's so good.
So, but they do end up at a party at Paul Simon's house, and he tries to make it as LA as possible.
Oh, and the thing is, like, I've lived in LA for 16 plus years.
Yeah,
I have been to this party.
Oh yeah,
this is absolutely real.
This is absolutely real.
Not a joke.
Nope.
Nope. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's exaggerated." I'm like, "That is not fucking." No. So if anything, it's underplayed.
Trying to convince them that LA is so much better than New York. There's no crime
here.
Everything's dirty in New York, and it's funny because obviously tables have turned a little bit, but
right. Exactly.
But look, I just saw a report that. They were doing like the amount of homeless in Los Angeles is 65,000.
Yes.
And New York is like 40 something. So it's not far behind.
Right.
Yeah, it's because the homelessness went up by, I think it was 13 something % in the past 2 years. It's really, 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 really sad. It's really, really, really
it's
bad.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But they spend billions a year, dude.
Sure. No, it's I mean, it's disaster. It is disaster. So yeah, LA has changed a lot since this movie.
Yeah.
But the attitude of idiots and rich producers and having shitty parties at their house.
Yeah,
that's exactly the same.
They have a screening room right here. You know, just
who
watch a
lived
movie.
here before? Who?
Charlie
Trigger?
Chaplin.
Trigger?
Unbelievable. Charlie Chaplin.
And then out of nowhere, Jeff Goldblum comes out, gets on the phone. He says, "I seem to have misplaced my mantra."
Yeah. This is because it's Jeff Goldblum circa like Nashville was the other movie he was in at the same time. So he's like, he's thinner than he looks like he's going to invert in some way. He's so
very
skinny,
very thin, tall, and very thin.
Yeah, and he's playing. He's like maybe a year short of being in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and so he hasn't quite had the breakthrough yet. But he delivers. I forgot my mantra is right on the money. I would have greenlit anything with him at that moment. That's perfect.
Yeah, very funny. So they go back. At which point he realizes that their relationship isn't going anywhere. Has a talk with her on the plane. Says, our relationship is like a shark. It needs to constantly be moving forward or it will die. And I think what we got here is a dead shark.
It's a dead shark. It's a dead shark. So what's awesome about that
then it cuts to, I miss Annie.
I miss Annie so much. Yeah, exactly. What's awesome with the dead shark line is that it sounds like it's a setup for a really deep metaphor. And it's not.
No.
It's just like it is exactly. The metaphor is a one-to-one relationship with what he's saying.
Yeah, it's going to be, what he's going to get into, it's going to be more interesting. It's like, nope, it's a dead shark.
It's a dead shark. I think we got here is a dead shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really funny. Okay, so then, I guess he tries to win her back, right? He goes back to LA to try to win her back. She doesn't want to come, right?
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, right.
He has him picking him up at the airport, and he tries to talk to her about it, and she won't do it. It was a very weird scene.
At the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the restaurant.
The alfalfa.
Yeah.
I'll have the mashed yeast.
Yeah.
But all that's kind of this flashback to the Coney Island days, like the driving and everything.
Right. Yep.
And that's kind of goes back to him in his early days. Yep. And he's totally out of his element too. Yep. Like he's totally bare. And it's even shot that way. It's like, it's really strange vibe to the footage.
Yeah.
It's very open and not like everything else in New York has like, it's just really open and drab, and he seems very small.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very flat, right? It's very flatly lit. Like there's the bit where he's passive aggressively driving the car and smashes into the thing. Like it really shows like he is like an angry small jerk. Because he's like he won't let Annie move on because he needs what he needs. And so like it cuts back and forth.
But he does that too. Pardon me, in Stardust.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Like it's all about me.
Well, he's like what's
he self-deprecating in his films
he's
all the time.
Well, he's like
but here it's like, wait a minute, I'm not in control. I mean, he definitely regrets breaking up, and he's always like that, even with Margot Hemingway's character in Stardust. It's where she's like, well, I'm going to go to Europe. What are you going to Europe for?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you have to go away? Well, you broke up with me. It's like, don't go to Europe.
Right.
It's like, I need this. I need you back in my life because it's not in balance.
Right. I need you to be a thing for me. Right.
That's right.
Is what he's doing. And he like, this is, I mean, he's essentially making the movie to point out that he's like, this is what I always do. And like, when I'm in it, I can't see that I'm actually being an incredibly selfish, bad person. Like I am hurting the other person by requiring them to be an object for me,
Right.
And so like it's clear that like, and the thing is like everybody has done something like this, everyone has, because you just don't like, you want things to remain the same. Like, things were good. I was happy. And now your fucking dreams or whatever are coming in and messing all this up. Well, they're the person's dreams. Like, she wants to be a fucking singer.
Right.
You know?
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then so, like, obviously, I mean, the obvious nod here is like, his name is Singer. You know, like, this is what she is looking to become. And so the reason why she is attracted to him is because she is inspired by him in some way that is redirecting her energy and distracting her from her goals. Right. And when she lets go of that and moves on, like, he's totally lost, you know, and he doesn't know how to react. So he tries to recreate it in a play that he writes. You know, he's just like, I'm going to write a play in which it works out fine, you know, and shit like that.
Right.
You know, which is exactly like how he tries to recreate the lobster sequence with the other woman.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, you can't just keep on repeating the shit, dude. Like, you have to move on. She has moved on. You have to move on. You said it yourself with the shark thing. You know, like, like, you can't just fucking keep on looping around in the same place.
Yeah.
And because the original name of the screenplay, and the reason why she's named Annie Hall is because it's a near homonym for anhedonia, right? And he originally called the screenplay which is anhedonia, which is to perpetually be unhappy. You know, it's a psychological state of like, I keep on recreating the scenarios that make me unhappy, and that's what he's lost in.
Right. So
still holds up 40 or whatever years later.
Still holds up. And then he says, I did see Annie again, you know, many years later. We ran into each other instead of seeing Sorrow and the Pity. She was on a date to see Sorrow and the Pity.
Yeah,
well,
right.
What's interesting about that is, like, one of the last shots is very close to the very end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
The person that he's with,
the date he has
is Sigourney Weaver.
It's Sigourney Weaver, who's like 10 feet tall.
Yes. And you only see her like this big on the screen.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it was Sigourney Weaver until I saw it in the credits, and I rewound it and it's like, wait, what?
It's so funny. Yeah. And he tells the last joke of the whole show is just like, we keep sticking with it because like,
we need the eggs.
We need the eggs. Yeah. And it's
the joke is the guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, I think my brother's crazy. He thinks he's a chicken. And it's like, well, why don't you turn him in? And he goes, I would, but I need the eggs.
I need the eggs.
Right? That's the sort of the joke about his own life.
Yep.
He takes these really corny, stupid jokes and turns them into something.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Meaningful.
Yeah, it's really
beautiful. That's like New York Catskills circuit kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yiddish, humor, which he did that circuit a lot. And he even does it in like Broadway Danny Rose, where he's always, he shows him in the circuit doing that. But that's the kind of jokes.
Well, yeah, because like it really wraps up it beautifully wraps up the Borscht Belt. Yeah, exactly. And it beautifully wraps up what he does with the movie. It's just like, here's an incredibly silly joke that means something, and like that becomes his, like, for the next many decades, exactly where he goes to in filmmaking.
Yeah. I love this film, but I also always like it as a point of reference of all of his other stuff, because his other stuff, I mean, Hannah and Her Sister gets much more serious.
Oh yeah, right? Exactly.
And then also I really love Mighty Aphrodite. I thought that was a really good film.
Crimes and Misdemeanors. Blue Jasmine
is a great film.
Blue Jasmine as well.
Yeah, especially again with the Oscars. Kate Blanchett in Blue Jasmine is really something to see, man.
I really like Deconstructing Harry.
Deconstructing Harry. Yeah, exactly. And like he always marries these like very, very, very silly jokes and setups and all this kind of stuff with a very hard philosophical or relationship theme that he really wants to examine something, and he does it so well right off the bat that like he only gets better at it as he goes. He leans more into the serious stuff. He tried right after this. He tries to make a totally serious movie called Interiors, right?
That's super dark.
It's ultra dark. It's basically
he did Zelig,
and he did Zelig, which is like the coming back off of that, right? Like, because like the people hated Interiors. That was a bomb for him. It was badly reviewed.
It's the same actress that was the mother, right? In the movie.
Yes. Dan. Oh, her name is right on the tip of my tongue. But Interiors is actually a good movie. Like it's a very, very good movie. It's beautifully shot. Acting is terrific. And
wasn't Archie Bunker's wife in that Carol? What's her name?
Yes. Not Carol. That's Archie Bunker. Yes. Can't think of her.
Edith Bunker was.
I can't think of it, but she's great. And the movie is, because he's trying to be serious, everyone's like wants him to be funny, and then he swings back hard the other way and does Zelig, which is very slapstick, but I would argue also very, very deep. Like that's a very, very strange, deep movie that I when I think about it now, like that may be his most currently relevant movie. Like that is it's about pretending to be someone else to be accepted. And it's visionary in how it presents that. It's a really, really incredible film. And then he makes a couple of like Midsummer Night's Sex comedy, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then he hits
Broadway Danny Rose.
And then Broadway Danny Rose, Stardust Memories.
Stardust.
And then he hits his next big stride, which is the what do you call it?
Hannah,
Hannah, Sisters, etc. And those are really, really just unbelievable works of art. And
let's not forget everything you want to know about Sex But Afraid to.
Oh yes, that was part of his earlier, and like it's funny, his early set. That's pretty funny movie. But like this is the greatest. If you're going to watch Woody Allen movies, first start with Sleeper or Bananas.
No, Take the Money and Run.
Take the Money and Run. Any of those, and then watch Annie Hall, and then watch anything.
Yeah,
like then
I would go to Hannah and Her Sisters.
Yeah,
and then if you want to get deeper and darker, then you can go to Deconstructing Harry or something like that.
Yeah, I would like and depending upon like how much your view of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow influences your opinion of these things, regardless, I would watch Husbands and Wives, which is directly about their conflict, and they're in it, and it's it's brilliantly made.
It's also got an amazing shot where it's just a doorway, and they're on both sides. There are two people on the other side, and you just see an empty doorway, and they keep coming in and out as they're talking to each other, but they're never in the same frame at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's an entire conversation taken just from one point of view, long shot. And someone asked him, it's like, it's brilliant filmmaking. What did you think to do that? It's like, I just didn't want to do two shots, so I just did one shot.
All the great artists say this shit. Like, it's like the Coen brothers don't want to explain it. Like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. It's obvious that it's saying something. Like these are statements. This is a painting that you've constructed. But they didn't want to get into a big, nonsense argument, this stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
it is brilliant.
It is brilliant, And so like those are great windows into that stuff. I feel like Annie Hall though is the greatest. Like what is it? What's the phrase? Like if you're gonna have like a sampler plate of everything that he does well,
it's probably it's the most accessible film and the one that really was the most groundbreaking for him in terms of all of cinema for him. Where everything else just became trademark Woody Allen genius.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, because I think his very best made movie, period, is Manhattan. Like, Manhattan is just phenomenally beautiful, and
that's the one, not Stardust.
Yeah,
is one with Margot.
That's Mariel Hemingway, right? And people find this movie insanely problematic these days. And if you're against anything like that, don't watch the movie. But if you do want to see it, it is incredibly, incredibly well made, and it's as much of an artistic and it's much of a statement about art as it is about enjoying art and loving and really opening yourself up to enjoying art and not being a pretentious douchebag like one of his wives in Annie Hall. So I recommend that as well. But anyone's gonna like Annie Hall. Like that's the home run. If you're looking for the good time and the deep stuff, that this has it all. This is the everything movie. A really, really, really great film.
Okay, moving on to we're now going to get into the second film, which was again suggested to us by Torger, and it was fantastic. None of us had seen it.
Which is nice. That
Just
happens every now
nice.
and again.
This is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for us to experience new things, much like what is discussed in this movie, and to sort of have it explain it that way. Now, it does start similar to Annie Hall in the middle of the film.
It has a number of explicit homages to Annie Hall.
Like absolutely.
Like, it knows what it's doing. It knows what the source is, and it's not like trying to pretend that this is new stuff. Right. But it does, using it as a jumping off point, it does a lot of great new material that I thought was gentle and beautiful and very experimental in its own way. It was really nicely done.
Yes. Opening shot is on a balcony, I guess.
Yeah.
And we
at an event. Yeah.
We see her at an event. She is having a cigarette overlooking the city. And this is sort of the shot behind us here. And sort of that's where it sort of all begins in this film. So we find out that her name is Julie, and she is a medical student, right?
Initially, yes.
Initially.
Yeah, initially is right. It's just so...
She's very, very smart.
Annie Hall.
Very smart.
Yes. Very, very smart. And like now that like looking at this opening image, we talk about opening images and closing images a lot. This is a perfect example of great bookending images in this movie.
Yes.
Because in this image, it's a beautiful shot. She looks beautiful. It's cinematic. And she's sort of expecting something. Like, she's off to the side of a party.
Yeah.
But she's not in the party.
She's not in the party.
Right.
You can tell she's an outsider or feels like an outsider.
Yeah. So she's like,
she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to.
She's separate in some way that even she is like, there's no indication as to what it is, but it feels slightly awkward and incredibly gorgeous. Right. And we'll come back around to what the final shot is, which I think is a perfect counterpoint.
Absolutely. So she's find out that she's, starts off as a medical student, doesn't quite like that, goes into psychology, doesn't quite connect there.
Every time she's like, I finally figured it out. Now I know what I want to do.
Yeah. And then she goes, then she becomes a photographer, like literally, like you're going, and she was successful at all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
But she just doesn't, can't quite figure out what she wants to do in her life.
But that's very much also like Hannah and her sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Diane Weist's character.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I need more Weist in my life, man. She is fucking great.
Her.
She is great. She is great. Did you see, by the way, I probably brought it before, Steven Soderbergh's movie for HBO called Let Them All Talk?
No.
Oh,
it's a good song, though.
Super recommend this movie. It seems like it's going to be one kind of movie. Like, we got a bunch of stars on a boat, and they're going to do some chatty, fun improv. And then it ends up being a much different movie that was very meaningful. And the heart of that movie is Weist. Like, you're just like, she's playing sort of a light, frivolous, sort of sweet character.
He's been in everything from like Officer and a Gentleman.
She is incredible. And
I loved her as a kid. I had a crush on her. Man. She was hot.
She is a terrific actor. And I always just forget about her every time she's when she's, on the far end of the orbit. Like, I go, like, she's out of my mind, and then she comes back, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, that's right, she's amazing. Lost Boys, yes, of course, Lost Boys, she's great.
Yep.
But yeah, she's in Let Them All Talk. She has a scene which I'm like, this is the great scene of the year, like, and it's all her, and it's marvelous, incredible little movie.
Yeah. Sorry. I got trying to remember where I was.
No, I just want to chip in on the Weist.
Chipping on, yeah, she was so great. And Hannah and her sisters was so cool when she was talking to herself about like the architect. Was it architecture, right? It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So now what happens at this point is that, she
doesn't know what she wants to do. Right?
Doesn't know what she wants to do, but she starts a relationship with a comic book artist.
Yes.
Or writer, artist.
And he's sort of an underground comics writer. So if anyone's familiar, especially with like 90s underground comics, like they're very influenced by R. Crumb.
Yes.
And so they're sort of like they're jokey but dirty, and like they have like
very unpolitically correct,
un-PC, right. Or, like there's and it's centering on a cat, right? Who is he's a feral cat, right? When all the other cats are normal, and he's a feral cat, and like and specifically like it's a kind of comic where you can see like he makes sure that you see the cat's asshole every single frame, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a gritty, boundary pushing kind of jokey comic rag.
Right. But he's a very sweet guy.
He's a nice guy. Yeah.
Very nice guy. And she starts a relationship with him. They're doing pretty well. Then he decides to go take her up to visit her family, his family.
Mm-hmm.
His family, right?
And that house was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Very, very Scandinavian.
This movie is really lovely looking.
Yeah. The thing is, I always look at things and I always look at the lighting of things and try to think of the geography, right? Because the lighting in places changes so much, right?
Yep.
And so I remember,
the
for example,
was beautiful there.
Yeah.
Do you ever see Garden State? Remember Garden State?
Oh yeah. I like that quite a bit. Yeah.
So Garden State, what I always liked about that is that it starts off in Los Angeles and it's got that very hard Los Angeles lighting, like very bright, right? And then they go to New Jersey and it's very cloudy.
Yeah, it's gray and flat. Yes.
Right.
This is
and
true.
So the lighting changes so drastically where you sense the difference between Los Angeles and New Jersey.
Yeah.
And so it was really drastic. Now in this one, it's very typical of, Norway, high, very northern places, because it's like magic hour all the time.
All the time. Exactly. It's either that or it's nighttime.
The lighting is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's always like this lighting, like you see here. It's just constantly like.
Yeah. It's so stunning. It's a
I remember
city, an incredible landscape.
I remember specifically like Eric Barba, when they went to Iceland to film a bunch of stuff for Oblivion, he goes, "It's the best. It's like magic hour for like 5 hours."
Yeah. It's unreal, man. It's so pretty. And like, the exposure on the film, like it has this you brought it up before. It's like it has real control over its depth of field. It has it has a really the color control in the grays, like where the fall off happens, is so gentle, but it affects the scene so deeply. The color timing in the movie is outlandish. Very. It's like it really changes your mood in very subtle ways, the way that this film was color controlled.
Well, like I said, with the depth of field, it's the character is whoever's talking is the only thing in focus. Everything else is drastically out of focus. So it becomes very centered around that person, right? And everything else is blah.
Which is very much that is what the movie is about.
The movie is about. Is that my dog? That's my dog.
It's my
dog. Will you tell your dog to
That's
shut
my beard.
up?
Yes. Sorry. That's
it's really about their egos, right?
Yes.
Their egos are. She is very narcissistic.
100%.
And so when that focus is so sharp on her, it's about her narcissism and about what that's going on there.
And I just want to take a moment, because like I love the movie, and as I will often do, I Googled it because I didn't really know very much about it, and I Googled it just read up the reviews and see what other people like. Generally, people really like it. And I read the New Yorker's review of this, and the New Yorker's review was like, this movie is a sham and it's blah blah blah, and it's like, and I was reminded how sad I am that the New Yorker used to be a thoughtful, inquisitive, good magazine, and now it's garbage. Like I was just like, this review is garbage. This is like a really fancy version. This is an intellectualized version of any cool news review.
What was their reasoning? Why?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so it's because they're like, this performance is wonderful, but this character is so narcissistic. I'm like,
that's the point.
That's the fucking point of the movie, you idiots. I go so instantly mad. I was like, when did you stop watching films?
No, everyone has to be good.
I was just like,
and a role model for us.
It blew my mind.
Why is that? I don't understand.
I don't know.
It's radical to me. I was just like, why can't you see what the movie is trying to do and say, and watch the journey of what is happening for this person and how it may relate to you, you narcissistic douchebag. Like, I was just like, how do you watch this movie? It's like, that's like watching a movie. Like, I hate this movie where everybody's on fire all the time. Cut to the reviewer, they're on fire. Like, it's reminding me about something I hate. I can't put my fucking finger on it. Oh, I'm on fire also.
Right.
Yeah. Like, this is it's like that.
So just quickly, he said it was a sham of a movie?
It's a sham. It's a sham. Like, that's the title. First of all, it's the title of the review, which is classless. But I'm just like, this is a
really deep thought of. There's no way you can say that's a sham.
Because the thing is, like, when I hate to bring up the ghost of Pauline Kael, but when Pauline Kael was writing for the New Yorker, she would also shred movies. But I would read her reviews because she would actually try to think through what the movie meant to her for real. Like, she wasn't reactive. She's like, I didn't enjoy this and I want to explore why. And sometimes she could be really harsh and sometimes she makes mean jokes. But like, the idea behind her writing was to want to love a film. And sometimes she couldn't. That's okay. Right. But this charmless yo-yo, I've read a ton of his reviews. He might be a nice guy in real life. I'm sorry to slam on him so bad, but his view is representative of what the New Yorker has become, which is a shallow, reactive mess. And this movie, it made me love the movie more. I was just like, we really do need a movie like this.
Yeah, because, we said the same thing about Blonde, and that's the same thing. You know?
Yeah, I can't believe Blonde was such a deep and beautiful movie.
Yeah,
I can't believe somebody would give it a razzle or whatever. That's the craziest shit in the world. I mean,
it's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. It's okay not to like the movie. It's okay. It's a hard movie, man. Like, I understand why people, why it upsets people. I understand why people don't enjoy it, and why people would want to watch it. But the Razzie, I'm just like, fuck you guys. Like, you're not about enjoying movies. You're about, like, jerking off, and that's pretty much it. Like shallow assholes. That's all I can say. Like, that's it. It's embarrassing. And like, once you nominate Shelley Duvall for a Razzie for The Shining, like, you're not sitting off a good track record.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, this is who these schmoes are. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Like, it's okay. Don't like a movie. That's okay. But I mean, like preening and congratulating yourself for being above it all. That's like Woody Allen's ex-wife.
That's what I was going to say. It's exactly like Woody Allen's ex-wife is like,
oh my God,
a bunch of troglodytes throwing a basketball around.
Yeah, that's the kind of
that nonsense. Does bring up an interesting thing. I watched something with Nancy, my wife, last night, and it was the documentary. It's just a doc, but it was well made on MH70 or whatever, the plane that disappeared.
Oh, I heard that's good. Yeah.
And there's a reporter in there, and he starts off as a really thoughtful reporter on aviation. And then by the time the show continues, he talks about one of the articles he wrote with his theory that it was hijacked and it went to Kazakhstan. I mean, it's so like far-fetched. Like, what are you how could you believe that? And it just seems like journalism, like he's just trying to get a gig in Hollywood. I mean, it was so far-fetched, the theory, that it was absurd. And it's like, he even admits it. It was kind of absurd, but I wanted everybody's attention.
Yeah.
It's like, what? So you write something is stupid because there's people who died. It's slanderous to their family members.
Well, it's that, like, the problem I have isn't that, like, I mean, it's like, for instance, like when we did the Lost, was it Jurassic World, the Dominion?
Great film.
Like, when we did that for a watch party.
That would upset you. That one upset you.
That's a terrible film. It's a terrible film. However, like, are
you going to blame people for liking that film?
I'm taking the Pauline Kael position. I can explain why this makes me mad. Like, I can explain why I feel the way I feel about the movie. Like, I'm not mad because, say, whatever. Like, I don't like Laura Dern's politics, so this movie is bad. Like, that's not the fuck. What are you talking about? And that's what this guy is doing in his review. And he's like, I have a very narrow window of what I want movies to do, which is to describe me and congratulate me for being myself. And that's the only kind of movie I'm going to watch. And that's the only kind of movie I'm going to congratulate, is something that congratulates me. And I'm just like, you're useless at your job. Like, you can shred it, but actually try to think outside of yourself and why you do not like it. Like, that's your responsibility as a reviewer. And to be so dismissive, just as artists, I think that's the kind of stuff that we should kick back against. Not against getting bad reviews, but against like this lazy hyper intellectualism that is just trying to create an ego machine. Like, that's for the birds.
I know that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why we have the political situation we are in now.
Yes.
It's because people have been tired of being looked down upon.
Yeah, this is like and you only make things worse for yourself when you treat other people like this.
Right.
Like, it just makes, it's not like you're trying to heal people. Like, yeah, like try to take things for what they're attempting to do, not not the other way around.
Hillary Clinton lost the election when she called people deplorable.
Yeah, it's that's the this is
that's it. You lost.
This is the once you offer up that as your perception, you're no longer trying to mend things, help people, or build bridges towards helping them understand a better world.
Yeah,
and it's like, and when you're looking at art, like if you're looking at Blonde, like look at Blonde and say, what is it like? As this is written by a known feminist, Joyce Carol Oates, and as this is in the extraordinary hard work of Anna de Armas, like, you can throw the dude director out the window. That's fine. Like, just if it's from them, if it upsets you, why did they make it? Ask the question and try to figure it out. Like, they may have failed at it. They may have blown it. They may have overstepped what they were trying to do. They may be not communicating it very well. And that's all totally fair game. But like, shutting it off and telling people they're bad people because they enjoyed something is moronic.
Yeah. It wasn't a hack film, dude. It's a beautiful film.
Exactly. So fuck you, Razzies. Is my ultimate take on that. Like,
this film did get nominated for an Oscar as well, Best Original Screenplay.
There you go.
So it's
a wonderful film.
Okay, now, where was it? She's at the house, the sort of vacation house or weekend house with his family. There's several things. There's a lot of hanging out and drinking wine and watching things. But there's a couple of key things that happen that I think are interesting here. One is there's a family, they have kids. And one of the kids has a little tantrum, younger kid has a little tantrum, and there's this whole thing. And her witnessing this goes like, no.
Right.
And he says, I would love to have kids. And she's like, nope, I don't want to have kids.
Right.
So the first part of like, this relationship, that is a key thing that people need to
want to do.
Yeah, like that have to be common ground there. You can't sort of have a relationship where that's not working. So that's one of.
And I just want to say, like, at this point in the movie, I was enjoying it, but I imagined it was going to be, here's a sequence of relationships with various people that she experiences.
No.
But going back on it, this whole opening scene with that guy is the setup for literally the entire film. And right. I didn't understand that when I was first watching it. Really beautifully observed.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that are going on here. A lot of sort of conflicts that are happening, right? She's trying to he's significantly older than her, 15 years older, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're having more adult
timing issues. Yeah, like I'm ready to do it,
right?
But she still has to live her life. But the problem is she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life.
She doesn't know what she wants to do, and she's still younger, so she still wants to like drink more wine and start dancing.
Yes. Right.
Right. And they're like, let's just chill out and talk, and there's some conflict there. You can tell the characters, it's not quite.
Yeah. They're just in different times of their lives.
Different times of their lives.
That's
right?
just where it goes.
And so it was very interesting to sort of have that sort of juxtaposition there that happened.
Right. And like the like lifting up the woman and she smashes her head on the light bulb, like that little scene. And like, the way that everyone reacts to these things, so it's just like, these are like, everyone's been in these moments and you're like what do we do about this? Because it's like, what do you do when you have like the super screaming child and the parent's not really like interacting in a positive way about this, and like all this kind of stuff where you're just seeing other people's lives as like an ongoing disaster. Yeah, you're just
but
like,
it's not a disaster.
My God.
The next morning they made up.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine, right? But it makes you think that you have to act to avoid these things, right?
Right.
When people are actually embracing their life, and that's why they end up in, awkward moments and, kids are screaming and all this kind of jazz. Like all she is seeing in the moment is like, what a terrible choice to have children.
Right.
Like this is
she's just young.
Because when you are 23 years old, you are a narcissist. This is true for everyone. It's the way your brain's working right then. It's true for me. It's true for everybody. And it's hard not to think of anybody but yourself at that time. That's just what's going on. And you're going to see that. You're going to only see through that lens at everybody else. And the movie is both very specific about doing that in a physical way with its lenses. Yep. And it's very thoughtful and understanding about that, because it knows that that's not a permanent state of affairs.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing: knowing that it's not like, pardon me, sorry, Chris. Knowing that there are films where the character or female character makes a choice, and you look at her backstory. When you see the fact that she was in medical school and she gave everything up, there's a more severity to it. I was like, oh my God. Yep. And it really affects your judgment of her almost to the very end. Like, grow up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In a different way than if it was some girl that's, husband died, or, she was dating a guy and he killed in a bike accident or something.
Right.
And she worked, but she goes from a medical school to, I'm not saying these are bad choices, but she goes from medical school to working in a bookstore. And then she has the audacity to tell, the guy that she was dating later in the movie, like, oh, do something with your life. It's like, well,
I was actually going to bring that up, Eric, because one thing that I found interesting in this is that there's a lot in the United States, those people would never date.
Right.
But I think in Norway they would, because I have a feeling that in Norway, their class system is very different. They have a much more socialist attitude, right? So there is being a barista and being a doctor are not necessarily incompatible.
Oh
yeah, it's true. But I guess I understand what Eric's saying, which is just sort of like
your perception is so different of her than any other character.
Right. Because she's making these choices of just like we go like, that's a big thing to give up on. Like you're completely invested in this, and how seriously can I take you if you change the channel out of that and into something else, and then into something else, and then you're ending up at a bookstore. You're like, where's your brain at? Like what's happening? And I think it's a great example, Eric, of most American films would like the sad death of the boyfriend, kind of whatever it is, and make it.
And she wouldn't, because she had the skill to propel herself higher.
Right.
And I'm not belittling any job, but it's hard to get into medical school. So, and then she wants to go study psychology. To give that up and be confused, it's like you look at her different. You're like, you're ungrateful.
Yeah, well, it's a high stakes choice, right? And she seems to be making these things, like initially you're like, yeah, and you can see it in the mom's face. The mom's like, okay, if that's what you really want, which is the appropriate response, and then the second time it happens, she's like, okay, just like,
right.
I think that you're making choices before understanding your center. Right. And like in American films, they externalize the fault. Like they kill the husband, and then, oh, I'm lost, and what should I do, and find myself. And this, it's just like, well, when you're young, you're kind of fucked up, and you don't know how to establish yourself or know who you are yet. And they just let that be true, which is extremely unusual for most Western film.
Yes,
and that's what makes this interesting. And it also, like as you're saying, Eric, it's like the feelings I have about her, I'm just like, it makes me like a little judgy about her, even though I've done this, I've done this very same thing. I didn't go to medical school, but I've certainly acted exactly like this. Like, it makes you go, until the point you're like, I don't know if I can trust her choices.
Yeah, that's right. She reminded me of a girl I dated for a while in my 20s. And I was watching it like, oh, Christ, not her. I was like, it was just like, are you kidding me? I've been through this. Run and never look over your shoulder because it will slow you down.
Yeah. But the movie is about essentially finding empathy for her. And as that happens, she discovers herself. And so it uses the mechanism of my empathy to stand in for her self-discovery, which is really beautiful writing. Like, that's a beautiful...
It was a really beautiful film.
Yeah.
And the recommendation was great. I really loved it. And I would probably watch it again.
I would. Absolutely. It is, by the way, if you live in the United States, it's available free on Canopy.
It's great.
Oh, I got to join Canopy. I had to pay for the damn thing.
Well, could have saved you some money.
And also...
Can I invoice you?
Nope.
And I would also, just on the side, I would pair this with a movie that I loved called The Souvenir, which is a really, really elegant movie about the same period of life. That is sort of an autobiographical sketch of this woman becoming a director. And it's extraordinary. And it stars, I forgot the woman's name. She's great. And her boyfriend in the movie is the guy who played Wells in Mank. And it was the first thing I'd seen him in. He was really, really great. So if you end up liking this movie, check out The Souvenir.
It reminded me of a movie that I saw years ago, Mrs. Mulwray, years ago. And I think it's called XY or XYYZ. It's Mark Ruffalo's film. He was
yeah. Was that good? I didn't see that one.
And he shot it, no joke, at the college where that girl I was just mentioning went to. And it was like, oh my God, does this bring back? And it's literally, but that's another great film.
Mm-hmm.
And it deals with the exact same type of character.
I love it. I love Ruffalo. Anyway,
I fell in love with him on that film. I was like, who is this guy? He's so good.
Yeah.
XY, or I'll dig it up and send it to you right now.
Yeah, that would also been an interesting pairing with this. Would have been Chasing Amy. Could have been interesting.
Yeah, Chase. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I liked it when I saw it. That's one of the I love Kevin Smith as a person and as a personality. I think he's really charming and tells great stories. I generally don't like his movies very much until recently. I loved his horror movies.
I don't know. I kind of like Dogma.
Dogma's pretty good. I like his movies, but I ended
Clerks is okay.
Yeah, Clerks is all right. Like the movie. However, the movie, here's, if you want to not trust my taste ever again, I absolutely encourage you to see Tusk. Tusk by Kevin Smith is absolute genius, tremendously enjoyable body horror film. And it's both funny and very weirdly upsetting. It's terrific. I don't even want to tell you what it's about. Tusk. Great film. Nobody will agree with me on this. Great film.
All right. Let's see. So this setup, as we know, we've already established that there's some personality conflicts going on and what's happening.
It's called XXYY, guys.
XXYY, yes. Yeah, I remember.
And I just sent it to everybody in the link.
I did not know that it was a Ruffalo joint. I will definitely check that out.
It's really good. Austin Chick. Sorry, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Maya Strange is in it, Chris. And
where did you put it? Did you put it in
the Martini Giant Twitch?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. Perfect.
But it's him. Mark Ruffalo, Maya Strange, Kathleen Robertson, Kel O'Neill, and Ben Topin.
XXY.
Austin Chick directed it. I like this. I love this film. It's a great film.
I'm going to check it out. That sounds really good. That's awesome. If it pairs well with this one, I'm in. I really, really love this film. This is a really good movie.
This is a better shot film, though. I'm not going to.
It's great. It's just that, I've only seen, like I said, I've only seen one of this movie, one movie by this guy.
2002 that came out. That's pretty old.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
Ruffalo, man, I'm super happy that he gets to buy 20 houses with his Hulk money. I'm sure.
Really? Oh,
I miss Ruffalo as an actor. Being in,
we should write a folk song.
But he's done. He still works. He still does wonderful stuff. He is a marvelous actor. Zodiac, incredible actor. You Can Count on Me.
But he did a movie recently that was pretty darn
He did
good.
the HBO movie where he plays twins, which I haven't seen, but I hear he's very good in. Got to see that. Collateral.
It's Spotlight.
The moment we met.
Thanks, Jason. The moment we met.
Right?
Let's see.
How do we end up on a Mark Ruffalo?
Because Eric's recommendation. Mark Ruffalo is fantastic. I love that dude.
Reservation Roads.
Don't be a hater, Chris.
No, I'm not being a hater.
Don't hate.
The Adam Project.
He's in the Adam Project? Wow. Okay, well, check that out. That's the Netflix sci-fi.
Trying to think of something that I was like, who is this? Yeah, he was also great in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes, fantastic.
Okay, back to where were we? Back to the worst person in the world. So they're in a relationship. She decides do another thing. She wants to start writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
hello, Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Exactly,
hello,
right.
Diane Wiest.
Yes.
So then she starts writing, and she writes a short story about feminism and oral sex.
Mm-hmm.
And shows it to Axel, who's very impressed by it, and tries to encourage her to write
Woody
more.
Allen.
Right.
Woody Allen, right?
Yep. And another great example of how, say, Norwegian social mores are versus American ones. Like, everyone in her family is very into this thing and says it's really great. Right. And I'm just like, this is not something in America that anyone would write or talk about.
No.
It's definitely the way she takes on this topic and what she says is not for public consumption or family consumption.
Right.
Yeah.
People would not be okay with that.
She also starts to she's celebrating her 30th birthday or something like that.
30th, yeah.
Right. And at her mom's house, her parents are divorced. You start to see the dysfunction in the family, which is where, what kind of starts to reveal how she became the person.
How she feels about love and marriage and kids and things like that. Become pretty clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And especially her dad who makes absolutely no effort
at all
to be or connect with her at all.
Like, makes them bus in from wherever to, like, it's just like, well, I can't really be out there for your birthday because of pain pills I take, and I can't really drive. And you're just like, fucking dick. It's her 30th birthday.
Yeah, and then he finds out that she missed something because he went to the other kid's soccer game or something like that.
Did you notice that the jackets were the same?
Yeah, the jacket's the same jacket. That's such a great touch. Such a great touch. This is it's just like, oh, I got you this jacket. Oh, thanks so much. That's wonderful. Fucking sister walks in with the same jacket.
Right.
I was like, that's hysterical. I love that the joke is right on top of it. Like, there's no delay. It's an instant payoff. It's hysterical.
Yeah. It was quite interesting. So that whole thing about her and her parents and her half sister is just starting to reveal the dysfunction that she's been managing in that whole situation. And I think at this point now we are close to being at the point where we started the movie. So she goes to an event, which is
a book signing for him.
Him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's about him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she is outside smoking a cigarette and doesn't really want to be there because it's not dealing with her problems.
Yeah, it's about him. So
it's about him.
She hates it.
Right. And now we should note that her selfishness is not as obviously, like in an American film, you would make sure you know that she was selfish.
She'd be a bitch about it. Yeah,
and it would be
not that way
like
at all.
Bridesmaids. It would just be like she's this tough lesson to learn, and she tries to cook, bake.
She's a very likable character, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, good.
But no, intelligent, but faulty.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You like her in the same way you liked Diane Keaton.
Exactly. Like the American film that this is most like
Yeah, but Diane Keaton is not selfish like her. So she is Woody Allen in this situation.
Yes.
Very much
she
so.
is,
Yes.
but there's still a lost quality.
Mm-hmm.
Lost, but charming and lost.
Absolutely. She's not unlikable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is where to go easier on that New Yorker reviewer, it's like it is a subtler because the performance, the actor is terrific, and she makes this character who in any other weaker version of this movie would be irritating. She makes her very, very lovable, even though all of her choices are quite selfish and narcissistic. And you're just like, it makes you want to root for her, even when she's doing things that.
Oh, and you're about to see a situation that's going to make you really kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah. And so the subtlety of it is something that you don't usually see in Hollywood movies. Like usually Hollywood movies are very didactic about explaining you should not approve of what this person is doing. And this, it just sort of like lets it ride and like trust the audience that you will pick up on this. You'll see.
Because there's a lesson at the end, which everybody agrees.
Like we're all going to end up on the same page,
right.
And it's just, but if you run up against this in your own life, these are things you have to be sensitive towards. Like, and she's not being sensitive. That's something you have to discover.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. She ends up leaving the party, and walks home. And while she's walking home, she notices a wedding party that's happening in a house.
Right.
And she crashes it
Mm-hmm.
as if she was belonging. It was a pretty clever way of crashing the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she also looked the part. It wasn't like
because she was already
all
all
dressed up for the other thing. Right?
She was dressed up for the one thing, so she just looked like she looks totally
because when she's at the book signing,
that shooting was beautiful. That night shot when she's walking was sorry to interrupt, Dan.
No, it's fine.
I know Chris does it all the time.
The constant magic hour of Norway.
It's beautiful, and because when she's at the book signing, it feels very much the same sort of. She has the same sort of impatience that she does at the birthday party sequence where like all the other people are talking about kids and blah blah blah. Like she feels like disinterested and out of place, and which is totally appropriate to where she's at, age wise. And then she sees down the street this party, which is like a bunch of random people drinking and having fun. She plugs right into it. Like that makes a lot of sense to her.
Right. But I think she also doesn't want to she doesn't care about, she doesn't know anyone there.
Yeah, exactly.
So by not knowing anyone there, then it's about her crashing the party and her thinking that's cool and fun.
It's about her experience.
Right.
It doesn't matter if
but she's also
wrong.
a little bit, when she's talking to the women about children, it's like she's being a prankster, and that's a different side to her. Like you're like,
she's being a fucking jerk to this one woman who's like, got kids.
Right.
She's just
you
like,
cuddle your kids. She's like, yes. She's like, they're going to become drug addicts.
And that's what happens. I'm a doctor, and I know. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a doctor, right?
And she's just sort of casually having fun, like. I mean, at the expense of this person,
sure,
and that person's enjoyment of the evening, but like she's just fucking around, and then she meets
Divik.
In a Norwegian Adam Driver.
He is a Norwegian Adam Driver. Totally.
Norwegian Adam Driver shows up.
He's a little oafy.
Yeah, a little oafish. But handsome but strange. Yeah,
handsome but strange. Yeah, and she's they're chatting, and she reveals to him that she crashed a party, and so he's like, oh, that's kind of fun and entertaining, and so they're chatting some more. They both reveal that they're both in relationships, and so therefore, they can't really cheat, and so they define what is cheating. And the minute you start asking that question, then you're already cheating.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so they start testing the boundaries. Like, is this cheating? Is this cheating? And moving closer and sharing wine and blah 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 blah.
But they go to the bathroom. That was another one. That's a very intimate thing, right? Like
great scene.
Peeing in front of each other. Is this cheating?
Great scene. Well, and it's also like there's.
But in this,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. In the same way, it was, to me, it was just like Woody Allen stopped her and said, let's just kiss now.
Yes.
That way it takes the pressure off.
Right. Well, and like, because it gets to this very intimate place quickly, but it's not intimate in a way that they can say is crossing a line in some other emotional territory. Right. But it's also linked up to, like, one of the things I found really charming about this movie is that it's relatively sexually explicit without being judgmental, and it remains charming regardless. Like, as if everyone in the world had sex.
Yeah.
Which is nice. As opposed to being like, they're having sex and it's kind of like dirty or creepy, and just like, no, it's.
But there was a naturalism to it. Which right? She was, though. She was natural beauty. She was really beautiful. And it was just, it really played off well. I really. And the sex scenes were great.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Not in a sexual way, but a just very human way. And I love
the
way they handled it.
The sexuality is very, very real and very, very gentle and kind. And
was it Caligula?
Fun.
No, not with the great eye of Guccione.
No,
but it was good.
You get Gil Good in there, it'll clean the whole thing up. Don't worry about it. It's still gonna win some awards. But the nice thing about that, like, and like how she the paper that she writes and how she talks about, like, well, because I like the guy not to have a boner and then elicit the boner, so yeah, I caused it, is her. That's another aspect of where she's at. She's like, I want people to react to me. This is what I want. Right. Like, I want this to be about me. Like, and so like every aspect of it is, I want this to be about me in sort of like sometimes bad, sometimes mean, sometimes totally understandable ways. And it's because she doesn't know who she is yet.
Yeah.
And that's so like, it is like, it makes instead of saying like, you're always going to be a narcissistic douchebag, it's like, you don't really know what your center is and you're trying to figure that out. That's why you are narcissistic right now.
We should also note that there's lots of different types of narcissistic people. There's narcissistic people who see no fault in their own.
Yes.
And there's narcissistic people who constantly see fault in their own.
Yes.
Right?
The one is called malignant narcissism, and the other is called covert narcissism.
Right. And so she definitely sees fault in herself constantly.
Yes.
Right. Which is why she's like, I could cheat, but I'm not going to cheat, but I feel bad because I want to cheat.
Right.
Right. And so this constant guilt. So the worst person in the world is what she thinks of herself.
Yes. It's about feeling that way about yourself.
Right.
Versus the rest of the world and what the rest of the world's expectations of you are. And what's really lovely is they expand that out very nicely in the next section we'll get to, when we talk about Norwegian Adam Driver's girlfriend.
Right.
And how he feels that way because of how she acts, and it's like it makes this feeling very universal. It's critical of that, of indulging that feeling, but it also says it's understandable that we feel this way.
Right.
And I think that's basically the heart of the movie, is like, listen, we all feel this way. It's a little irresponsible to stay there. Like, it's not irresponsible to the people immediately around you. It's irresponsible to yourself. And you really do have to engage life for real, not just constantly look at it as the enemy and trying to define yourself against it.
For sure. A couple things, because their non-date ends by them leaving the party, and she refuses to get last names because she doesn't want to be tempted to look them up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. And so they only know their first names, and that's how they leave it. And that's how they depart. And she's clearly enamored by this guy. Right. And so sort of get into what that is later. But I actually want to take, if that's possible, before we get to the next part, I want to take a couple-minute break. I need to use the restroom, and I will.
Yeah, maybe put your dog in another room.
Good God. Sorry, is that still making noise?
All right, hold on. Just getting a 2-minute break, rise, and we'll be back shortly. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
All right. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been doing a lot of work on the projects. Specifically on a project, but it's coming along very well. Looks good. A lot of visual effects.
Very good. You'll be done by Monday?
It'll be Monday, early Monday, barely Monday. No problems. If anyone's wondering, I have 2 new short films in the works. One of them is moments from being done, and another one is many, many more moments than that, but it's on the way. I'm looking forward to debuting them soon.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Because it's been a little while, and it's good to be back on the horse.
Back in the saddle again.
I'm also excited about the Oscars, which are tomorrow from this recording. And this is a first for me, is that I've seen everything in the nominations list, which I don't think I'm not sure if that's happened for many, many, many years.
Okay.
And I also enjoyed everything in the list in one way or another. Even the Baz Luhrmann movie, which is very silly and frivolous, but was still fun. Like, it's the first time I've enjoyed a Baz Luhrmann film, honestly. And I was I can't overly recommend it, but it was a pretty good time, and it looked nice, and the main guy is very good, and like it's not something that I would personally nominate it for Best Picture, but it's a totally good time and well worth it. But I did a bunch of catching up. I saw Banshees of Inisherin.
How was that?
It's excellent. It's great. I like that quite a bit. Women Talking was good. Gosh, what else is there? We've already talked about Avatar 2 and Top Gun, which are terrific. Oh, and Tar. Tar was one of my other favorites.
I gotta see Tar.
Tar is out of this world.
I want to see Tar. I do want to see Banshees. We should do those on podcasts too. So.
Yes, yeah. I would say I have a feeling that Tar is going to hit for you guys. I love Tar. Tar is it's a different. I don't know what you expect. Do you guys what kind of movie do you expect out of that? Just as a curiosity.
I have no idea.
She's a composer.
Yes. Like, do you feel it's a drama or what kind of movie?
Seems
do you
like a thriller.
It'll be interesting to see what you think of this movie.
It's a comedy.
It was. I don't want to say too much. It is just very different than I expected, and
okay.
I loved it. I loved it quite firmly.
Okay.
What's the matter, Chris?
I don't know. I've got the shakes today. I'm a little bit too much going on.
No, I feel you. 100%.
I'm sorry about that.
Norwegian Adam Driver is where we were last.
Norwegian Adam Driver leaves him on the street, and then she wait, yes.
So she starts to she doesn't tell her boyfriend, the comics guy, that she basically cheated on him.
Yeah.
But things start changing for her out of that.
Right. Well, first of all, she sees the guy in the bookstore. They meet in the bookstore.
Oh, this is a great scene. This is
a
terrific
Tell
scene.
the scene.
And it's very simple, right? It's the classic, they see each other again. Like, she's working in the bookstore. She sees that he is in the bookstore, right? And she doesn't know what to do. So she tries to just turn and sort of get away from his zone, and maybe he'll miss her. But this woman comes up and starts going, do you have a book called Green Yoga? I really need blah, blah, blah. And sort of insistently, trying to get her attention, get her to look for this book. And she's trying to work through this sale really quickly so she can deal with it. And then he walks up as she's trying to make the sale to the woman. Yep. And he sees her and he's like, oh shit, it's you. But they can't say anything because she's still in the middle of this transaction. Finally sums up the transaction. The woman starts to walk away and she turns to Norwegian Adam Driver and says, did you want to buy anything? Because they're together.
That's the girlfriend.
That's the girlfriend. And the scene changes its tone so fast. Right. You're just like, oh shit. This is
right.
I was having this weird rom-com scene over here, and actually it's this other scene. And it instantly
and then you realize that she's been talking to her girlfriend the whole time.
Yeah, it's really, really great.
At which point he tells his girlfriend after I leave, so I left my sunglasses, I'll be right back.
Right.
And he goes in to talk to her, and they kind of connect, and it's very awkward.
Yeah, and they don't make a decision about seeing each other again at that moment.
Right.
But now the fire is lit, and
she's thinking about it constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
Right.
And, it starts to affect everything else with her.
Yes. Okay.
And she makes a bold choice to break up.
Yes.
Well, hold on.
Let's get to the great scene. Like the great scene where she realizes that she wants to go and talk to him.
It's the dream.
It's the semi-dream sequence.
Yes.
Like it's the moment of her decision.
And
so what triggered that dream? I can't remember. It wasn't the psychedelic thing. The psychedelic thing was something else.
That was later.
She's just it's in the morning. She is talking to her boyfriend in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, right.
And he's just
everything freezes.
the coffee, and he's like, "Do you want coffee?" And he just sort of stops moving.
And it's one of those freeze time moments.
It's like Buffalo 66, only the whole world, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the camera is free, but everyone in the world outside of her is frozen.
Right. She's running, and everyone is frozen in time. And some of it's done as a CG, but most of it's people just holding still because I noticed all the leaves were still moving on the trees.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is great. It keeps the whole thing very dreamy and beautiful. And like, and it follows as she runs through, like, I suppose this is Oslo or wherever. Yeah. And like, and so she's running, and like, the more she gives into the fantasy, the more I support her. Like, it's like Woody Allen running at the end of Broadway Danny Rose.
Right.
Where you're just like, the more momentum there is, the more I'm like, yes, and then I
was going to say Harry Met Sally, but
God, don't get me started. Perfectly fine movie. I can't believe that has the credit that it gets when it's.
You don't like that movie.
It's a pretty good movie. It is a stone cold, like that is like not even a cover of Woody Allen's greatest hits. It is 100% a steal. And now it's like, oh, it's just Nora Ephron's wonderful work, and I was just like, that is a fucking Xerox of Woody Allen, and getting credit for it is a little bit that rubs me raw. It's a pretty funny.
Were you a fan of her movies?
I have never liked a Nora Ephron movie outside of when Harry Met Sally, because I love Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, I was never a fan of her movies.
Yeah,
never.
I don't get the attraction. I mean, I'm sure she's a nice person. I mean,
she's
bad about
passed away.
But like, I do not like her films. I don't like her writing. And the one thing that is funny and charming and well done is absolute mimicry of a greater writer and filmmaker. But that said,
Reiner directed it though.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I'm just talking the screenplay was, sorry. And it is a good movie. It's I love Crystal in it. I love Meg Ryan's great, and it's so Bruno Kirby's hysterical, Carrie Fisher's great. Like, it's all sweet.
Bruno
it's a sweet
Kirby,
movie.
when he died, I was like, what?
No, that was the sadness. Yes,
that was sad.
Yeah. So I really don't have anything bad to say about it, except that I'm like, I don't know why this gets the fucking laurels. Like, that's a weird thing. It's got a great soundtrack, Harry Connick Jr. or whatever. It's beautiful. It's
starting to sound like those Twitter guys.
Oh God, I know. It's I gotta be careful. Otherwise, I'm going to start writing for the New Yorker.
Oh God.
No, it is a good film, and I would never fight anybody on movies that they love. Obviously, if they love it, they love it. It's great.
I will say that yes, that dream sequence is great.
Yeah, it's
and
lovely.
They especially take advantage of the depth of field thing, so it really feels very, very dreamy.
Yeah, it's gorgeously shot, and when it lands at the coffee place where he's working, like,
yeah, we find out he's a barista.
He's a barista.
Yeah,
and which is great, just because like the scene begins with the boyfriend pouring coffee and ends with her new boyfriend pouring coffee. Like, I was just like, that's pretty sick. Like, that's a great, that's a great little bookend gag right there. It really shows like she is not changing boyfriends because this new guy is really something special.
Have you read? I don't know if I'm sorry for lumping in Swedes and Norwegians in the same sentence, but
Swedewegians is terrible.
But have you read the? Did you read Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, the book?
Yes, I did not. I love the film, but
in the book, they're constantly talking about drinking coffee and having sandwiches.
No, that's amazing.
That's all in it. So I have a feeling that it's really, and in fact, I found out in Sweden specifically, I don't know if this is the same thing in Norway. Again, I'm sorry for lumping them in two places.
It's horrible.
But they actually have specific times of day for drinking coffee that is like everyone stops doing what they do and they go have coffee.
I thought my love of the thing was simply because of the Norwegian camp, but actually it's because I want coffee so bad.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it glow from the Norwegian attitude.
I like those books, the Dragon Tattoo books.
I got to read those.
I like the books a lot, honestly speaking. Yes, a lot.
We've talked about it on the show before, but I'm
well translated from. I mean, I'm sure it must have been a struggle because it feels like it was natively written in English. Honestly speaking,
it's a great story. I'm a huge fan of the Fincher version in particular, as a movie. And,
we've talked about that.
Yeah, we did on the show. But I will read the books because I love those kinds of books in the first place. So I'm surprised that.
Yeah, you would really like it.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the with the dream sequence, that's like it shows the subtlety of the sort of gentle comic value of the movie, that she's changing from one coffee drinking boyfriend to another coffee pouring boyfriend on both ends. It's the same kind of change as when she's going from being a doctor to a photographer. Like, it's just
it's absolutely true. I never even thought about it, but it's like, figure out what you want, right?
Yes.
And the boyfriends are both none of them are very strong male characters.
Yeah, exactly.
They're very easygoing, both of them, right? So she's obviously
they have their issues, but like
she's picking these guys based on the fact that she can manipulate them and control them.
Like she's got an angle on these guys. I mean, they're nice guys, you know.
Yes,
so these aren't bad relationships.
They're not.
You know, it's perfect.
And the irony, of course, that the comic book guy is somewhat meek.
Oh yeah, like he's very abrasive in his art and very meek as a person.
Exactly, his art is very like controversial, et cetera, right? And actually, the brilliant part is when she watches him on TV and she's like,
yeah, that's wild,
because he's a different character there, right?
It's so wild. That's great. That's a great sequence.
Oh, I love that. And she's like, what? And she's like, it's almost like
there's this whole other person there.
It's Will Arnett from what's the show Arrested Development, who's like, I think I made a huge mistake.
Right.
Not Will Arnett, the other guy, Bates. Anyway.
But yeah, like
I think I made a huge mistake. Oh my God.
It's it's fascinating too, because like she's okay, so like she has the dream sequence. She comes back from the dream.
She comes back literally to the room, back to him, and then he starts pouring coffee again.
Right.
And when she says, we need to break up.
Yeah. Right. And then and this is
Annie Hall.
This is another brilliant layer to this thing, is that another thing that Western movies do, right, is and I'm not, or I should just say American movies do, is that when the tough stuff starts to happen, like when the breakup starts to happen, the movies will like cut away from the down and dirty material of breaking up with somebody. They just like, they say a line and then there's sadness and it cuts out wide and you see someone walking alone, right? And what this does is she starts to break up with him, and then the narrator comes in and goes, well, and she said this, and then he said this, and soon they came to the understanding. And you're thinking like it's going to slowly fade back away from the breakup. And then it doesn't. It just keeps on going and going and going. And like it gets uglier and harder, and then they end up having sex again. And you're just like, oh yeah, this is what breaking up with someone is like. This is really, it's extremely messy. Yeah. And then the narrator like sort of comes in to try to dismantle that and get away from it, because she doesn't want to be in the mix of that, right? So the narrator is essentially taking the role of her superego, like, well, now that we're writing this off, let's just make this put a the end on that story and then fade away. And then they like won't let it happen. Like,
but we should also note again, and we've been saying this over and over again in this film, but the scene that happened that led to her wanting to go through this dream sequence to be with the other boyfriend was specifically that they were talking about the success of his comic book. They were at a dinner party, and how it's going to turn into a thing. So it became about him being successful. So the Norwegian Adam Driver, which I love that. You keep calling that. So bad. He's just a barista.
Yeah.
So he's never going to outdo her.
Right. Exactly. And like, because there's a couple of great things about how once the movie starts curling back around, we can get to it later. But like the scene when so she breaks up with the boyfriend, starts the new relationship, right? And then you get to the scene where she is on the running machine. She sees her ex-boyfriend, the comic artist, giving an interview, a very combative interview, with about the offensiveness of his art, right? And you see this
to a uber very very politically correct,
like a new wave feminist argument versus this old transgressive art, and it's a really bitter insults
and he's doing a great job of defending himself,
and like she is.
But then he says whore, which doesn't help.
He crosses the line and fucks it up, and it comes all the stuff, right? And she is seeing him from a completely external viewpoint now, right? And she's like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know that guy. And what that was really saying is like, this is how little you pay attention to people outside of yourself.
Yep.
Like this guy is not going to be this guy only on television. Like, this is who he is. Like, he is nice and kind around you because he loves you. But like, there's no way that this stuff didn't come up. It's just, you didn't care. It wasn't about you. So you just didn't notice. It's just apart from him. And so to see him from the outside, and then, by the way, and not to spoil anything, but when she talks to him again in the end of the movie.
Not spoil the whole thing. This is what we do.
Yeah, it's true. But to allude to the end of the movie, when she sees him again, he also reveals how much he loves movies. And it's just like, oh, I could watch this and this and this a million times. And you know how much I love movies. And like, as the viewer, I'm like, I had no idea you love movies. No. I have only seen you through the lens of her.
Right.
So, and that's not interesting to her, so it didn't come up.
Yeah.
Just like, that's pretty fucking spectacular. Like, and that it's now visible to us means it's visible to her.
Right.
And so like, these are moments, like, this is a way to show
this, and this is growth. Why specifically she feels like she's the worst person.
Yes. This is the beauty of this movie, is it's like, it's so empathic towards her bad behavior that you go, I have been this person. I have been that.
Maybe.
Like this is
I know you and I have.
Like I have. I think that anybody who has been 23 years old absolutely understands where this movie is coming from and how kind the movie is being about it. It's a really, really beautiful bit of character. Great work from her. Like, beautiful character work from her, and great writing. And the direction absolutely understands where it's going the whole time. Plus the audience to get there. It's just incredible.
But she, I'm trying to remember the sequence of events. Sorry, guys. She does get with a new boyfriend. There's something about the old girlfriend's Instagram. What was going on there?
There's a lot of, she's just showing her
sound is out. Your sound is out, Daniel.
What?
Daniel's sound. No, it's still out, Dan.
How about now?
Now. Yep, it's back.
Okay. So so this is actually the source of the worst person in the world bit, right? Is we get a long history of her new boyfriend's ex-girlfriend and their relationship. And he's like, well, she is super into, like, we went camping this one time.
Right. Oh, your sound is out again.
So they go camping.
Sorry. Hello?
Okay. Yes, back.
I don't know what's happening. So
we're going to have to fix this. I'm going to buy you fucking cables or a mic or something, whatever it takes.
We'll get it fixed. Sorry, everybody.
We can't keep doing this.
Yes. But he goes camping with his girlfriend and out on these beautiful fjords. And she wakes up one morning to find that there's like a moose, whatever it is, beautiful animal right outside the tent. Reindeer. She walks up to it and she has this communing with it, touches the creature's face, beautiful moment, right? And it inspires her to be very aware of the beauty in the world in which we're losing. And so she starts becoming an activist on the Greenpeace front. She's practicing yoga. She's very making and
super green,
super green, like fighting against corporations. She's going down this very, very intense path to try to make the world a better place. And most importantly, she is constantly trying to correct him and how he acts, what he consumes, how he interacts with the world, managing him constantly into a new shape that is appropriate for her.
Yes.
Right? And where like you have to look at the things that you drink and watch where they're sourced from and make sure that you're not offending anybody.
Which also shows how easy it is to manipulate him.
Yes, exactly. And so in a way, he is the opposite of her ex-boyfriend, who was essentially arguing against like being hyper aware of other people's feelings. Like, because to sum up his argument regarding his art is like, I understand where you're coming from, but it's illogical to expect people, it's egotistical to project unknown people's needs onto what you do, as if like you are there to save the world, and it's a responsibility in everything you do to think about everyone else, because what you're really doing is thinking only about yourself and how and looking at it egoically, right? and the new boyfriend is on the receiving end of that. He's like,
whatever.
the new boyfriend's like, I guess I have to think about literally every choice I make and everything that I consume, and like whether or not the shoes I have or the phone, the battery that I have in my phone is from cobalt that's mined in Africa, and it just just utterly changes his life. My God. And he doesn't want this to be true, but it's the only way to be with her, right? And he's like, I couldn't take it anymore because I was feeling like the worst person in the world. Right.
Right.
And so like to marry what you were saying earlier, Chris, is like, there's two forms of narcissism, right? There's the narcissism of thinking only of yourself and thinking you're an incredible person. And the narcissism of thinking only of yourself as you appear to everyone else because you hate yourself so much.
Right.
Right. And trying to correct for that by I'm not going to be bad. I'm going to make sure that I am absolutely squeaky clean, and every outward projection is actually because you cannot stop thinking about what you look like. And you're only attending to your ego rather than anything that you say that you're caring about. And by living that way, you are acting like the worst person in the world. Like, it is an anti-narcissist statement. Like, it's not saying that caring for the environment is bad. It's saying the reason for what you are doing may be self-centered.
Listen, I'm going to just say there are certain people I know in certain areas that are very much the preachy kind, the yoga girl, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's someone I know very, very close to me.
Sure. Absolutely.
That is just constantly like, if you do this, you're a bad person. If you do this, you're a bad person. If you do this, and here's what's interesting about that particular person. She dates people that she can manipulate and mold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is because
she will never date someone who has an opinion on their own that would be different than because
why? Because she's afraid somebody might be smarter than her. No.
And everyone that she dates is like,
it makes them an enemy.
Everyone that she dates is someone who's like, just do what I say, and I'm like, okay, we'll do whatever. And so she dates all these very, very drab people.
Yeah, very meek personalities. Like the thing is, like, none of this is, how can I say it? Like when you are exclusively concerned with how other people act, that means that you have something wrong within yourself that you're avoiding almost 100% of the time.
Oh, 100%.
Say that again.
When you exclusively concern yourself with how other people act and appear around you, that means that there is something that you have not attended to in yourself, and you're projecting it outward onto everyone else and trying to manage them instead of trying to find out what's wrong with you, trying to heal yourself. And accepting the responsibility, that is very, very difficult. And this is something that I have done, I've constantly faced this kind of problem. I'm not saying that I'm not out of the loop on this stuff. Like everybody faces this kind of stuff. But when you indulge yourself so thoroughly in like, I must judge everyone else so that I am unjudgeable, like you're destroying what is valuable in your own life.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what this movie is about, is like, there's a moment in time, especially when you're in this window of time, in this age bracket, where like it's a tough thing to get through all the way, which is like, because you can remain, you can remain a narcissist. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Like you can, like, it's natural that you're going to be in this state between like whatever 16 through 24, you know. But you need to find your way out of it to become yourself. And a lot of people don't. And they end up writing for the New Yorker and seeing movies like this and get really fucking freaked out and offended by them.
Look at you. That was a beautiful cheap shot.
Fucking late. I was so pissed off. I was like, this is my enemy. This kind of review is my enemy. Anyway, that's just a joke. But like, that is what the movie is actually talking about. It's like, try to find your actual. Sorry, there's a long way around to go for that joke, but it's like, it is the center of what
that was a jab.
It is also a jab. To go from a movie that I was so impressed by and touched by into something so.
But I could see that. Yeah. That's the problem. In fact, I think actually specifically it's wonderful that those reviews get put out there because it sort of illustrates how terrible things are.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's okay.
What?
I'm sorry, I'm going to put this in here, but the whole situation that happened last week with Tucker Carlson and the whole freaking January 6th thing and him showing the footage of like, hey, we're just tourists. Like, right.
Buddy.
So to me, this is great because it sort of illustrates how idiotic that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is all happening while Fox is being sued by Dominion, and they're in a really bad position. And all of the text that the pundits are talking about how shitty Trump is.
We knew we were lying.
We knew we were lying the whole time. So to me,
know,
when
crazy.
you
It's
put
a hard
out
job to do when you're like, yeah, I got to go in and bullshit, but the money must be so good.
the money is so good. No, okay, I'm going to wrap around to why I brought that up.
I mean, it's not podcasting money, but it's.
I know. But the thing is that was really interesting. Oh, I do want to talk about podcasting at the end of this.
ADD?
Yes, I do. But the point I'm trying to make is that the guy from the New Yorker, if you keep seeing reviews like that and you keep realizing like, oh, you missed the whole point, then it just illustrates why we are in the position we are. Mm-hmm. Why we're still only getting Marvel Fest, right? Because no one is willing to actually deal with the problems that they actually have. Yep. And they cannot be reminded that they may have faults.
Yes. This is because it's terrifying, you know, in a world where like,
right.
if someone discovers a fault in you and can use media, social media, whatever, to utterly destroy you, like, you want to make sure that you are completely fault-free and blameless. And by all of us doing that, we create an imaginary world in which we pretend that we are righteous knights divinely protecting goodness, when we're actually all just a bunch of misfits who make mistakes, selfish mistakes, and hurt people by accident because we're not thinking, and we do all sorts of dumbass stuff. And if anywhere that were to be discovered, our lives are ruined. Like, that's like, you can't live with those kinds of stakes because we're people, we're humans. And if you're constantly forcing that judgment outward, it's because you're terrified of being judged. Like, that's what you're running from. And it's very, 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 and so like, to be empathic towards, you know, the New Yorker writer that I'm taking my anger out on, like, he doesn't mean any of this stuff. Like, he hasn't thought it through, and I should take the point of view of this film.
How do you know he hasn't thought it through, though?
Well, from reading his review, but like, that he was unable to see what the film was doing made me mad, because he was so angry towards it. So to carry out my learning experience.
He got paid a lot of money to make that review.
Well, this is true, right? It's like, so to carry forward my learning, like, so I can learn something from the experience of the film. What the film is teaching me is that I should actually be forgiving towards people like this.
You should be forgiving towards him.
For absolutely towards him, because looking.
But my problem is that his voice is going to be listened by a lot more people than
it's very true. It's very true. But the thing is, it's understandable, and I've made the same mistake. So this guy, right? Like,
do you feel any empathy for Tucker Carlson? Let me just put it that way.
It's extremely difficult, and I don't, on a number of ways. The key way that I have difficulty feeling empathy for him is that I don't know him. Right, I only know his act. Right,
and clearly he has two different personalities. What was funny is someone was comparing the text messages between all those Fox News pundits to what MSNBC says on the air, and they're like identical.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is, like, this is the thing. It's like I say this all the time about public people. Like, I do not know Tucker Carlson, and like to pretend as if the image that he is selling, which is everything that I see, is actually him, is incorrect. Right. Like, that's his act. I know that's his act. So being mad about that is sort of useless, because I know that's a put on.
It's like when people got really upset at Andrew Dice Clay, and they were like,
it's a shtick.
Dude, it's a shtick. It's
a total shtick.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, now I do think that Tucker Carlson's act is a hurtful and dangerous thing to be doing.
Sure.
Right.
Well, it's clearly incentivized people to storm the castle.
Absolutely. I mean, people got killed because of this kind of stuff.
Oh, many people have been killed because of Tucker Carlson.
Right. And so, like, this guy, I mean, like, directly because of Tucker Carlson.
Actually, directly because like the Buffalo, the mass murder that happened in Buffalo was a direct. Like, the murder was like was quoting Tucker Carlson.
Right. It's still the murderer's fault to murder somebody. It's not Tucker Carlson's fault. Right? That like but Tucker Carlson, where I have empathy is that I assume that there is a person named Tucker Carlson. Like, that's the only thing I know. And as a person, I will have empathy for him as a human, that I don't want bad things to happen to people writ large. Then that's the only way in which I can know him. I assume he's a human being, so I hope that he doesn't suffer needlessly over anything. But I also hope that he starts making better decisions, because his decisions are hurting people.
Yes, but he likes money.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever watch the documentary called The Dale?
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's about the guy who is a trans person who made a car called the Dale that was a complete scam.
Oh, no.
Turns out the actual person that did that was the con artist, right? Classic flim flam man. Can you put the mic next to you? Because there you go.
Flim flam man.
The flim flam man.
Yeah,
it's the flim flam man.
I love that movie.
The flim flam man.
I love that film. I love that film. I really want to get back to that at some point. But anyway, this person was, complete scam person, right? But was also happened to be trans, and there was a lot of news that was happening around Los Angeles about this person, and the person that was sort of bashing him the most was this journalist, local news journalist in Los Angeles, that was doing a lot of bashing about that character and about the whole trans thing.
Sure.
A lot of it, right?
Right.
That was Tucker Carlson's father.
No kidding.
But what year was this?
In the 70s?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know if is his father still alive?
No.
Yeah, like it's that he is, Tucker Carlson is a real piece of work.
Flam man.
Yeah, like I say, I feel like
sorry.
So
then went it better.
No, but this is true. The thing is, because like
all I gotta say, here's what I gotta say. Are you guys looking at the Twitch stream?
Yes. No. Okay. There we are.
I look like I'm in that environment. Like I'm actually lit correctly. I am perfectly lit. Like I got the same
you
lighting
have a better
direction.
camera than us.
Well, I know, but that's
pretty great.
It's pretty. I can tell you how to do it. It's pretty easy. You guys have good cameras. No, you have the expensive camera already. All you got to do is you got to get you. There's a $30 or less.
I have it.
It takes a HDMI and turns it into a USB, and it basically will take any HDMI signal.
You told me to get it.
Yes, and all you got to do is get a HDMI cable from your camera, and then plug it into this thing, and plug it into your computer, and now your computer is a webcam.
Yeah,
your good camera is a webcam.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this anyway, just because. Yeah, like I gotta glam this up a little bit if I'm gonna be on the socials.
You gotta.
Tucker Carlson false front.
Well, there's a couple, oh my God, there was, anyway, so how do we got to get to the psychedelic drugs because I think.
Yes.
Okay. So Nano's party is another party that they have at, but this time with their new boyfriend, Norwegian Adam Driver.
Sorry. Apologies to Norway and Adam Driver.
It is stuck in my head now forever. Norwegian Adam Driver. So he is, they have a party at his house. Who is at the party?
Her friends.
Her friends?
That girl was one of her friends, I thought, the blonde.
Yeah, well, they're having a get together, right? And they discover, because I think it's his friends, and like they have some mushrooms in a bag. Like when
she discovers mushrooms that he had. Right. Yeah,
his friend does, not her.
Yeah, and like I can't believe that you have these. Do these still get good anymore? All this kind of stuff. So they're super old, and like she's like still in let's party mode, and like this is how I can recapture my my youthful fun, right? And she's just like, let's just do it, and starts eating it, and everyone's like, are we sure we want to? I mean,
she takes so many. She takes so much.
She takes like two good wads, and
I said it tastes like dirt. Yes, which it does.
And they all finally agree to trip out, and they're waiting around like it's not working. They're like, well, it's not working. It's not working.
Maybe they were old.
Maybe it's too old, right?
Right.
And then suddenly, it starts happening. And then we enter the most awesome drug scene I've seen.
It was beautiful.
So
I don't think I've seen one as cool as this since Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, it was terrific, hilarious and meaningful and beautiful. Yeah. Very, very funny and beautifully done.
Stay in front of the mic.
Very, very funny and beautifully done.
Okay.
But it's like, so she starts having this hallucination where it's great, like that her body is this like maybe 60-year-old much larger woman, 70 much larger woman, right? And she's like, it's wrinkly skin, like overweight,
huge boobs,
and like all these hands.
Essentially, me coming out of the shower. But go on.
Like it's great that you did the capture for this.
You know what? I wanted to do it.
Amazingly well done.
I didn't know who this filmmaker was. It was such a good idea.
Pretty amazingly well done.
You can see the seams on the neck though, but it was good.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And like so these hands start coming and just like groping this old woman's body, and then it pans all the way up, and you see her young head is coming up out of that body.
Right.
And you're just like, what? It's a beautifully trippy image, and also represents how she's feeling emotionally, what her fears are, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then she sees
she's going to get old.
She is going to get old. This is what her fears are.
Right.
And all these, like, what is wanted of her, and how she is seen. And then it all comes back to her father is there. And so it cuts back. You see her father in like a chair, distant. And then she's still naked, and then she sits down on the floor in front of her father, and like where like legs are apart, and she reaches down and pulls out a tampon and throws it in his face.
Oh my god!
It was just like, what the fuck is happening? It's absolutely. And then she wipes the blood on her cheeks like she's going to war.
War pain.
Yeah, and
unbelievable.
It's terrific. Yeah. It's terrific. Like it's both really, really funny and really sort of affecting at the same time.
Yeah,
and so like because it's so like the rest of the movie is so sort of like easy and gentle in everything, and then it's just like, let's fucking pedal to the metal in the imagery, let's fucking trigger this, and it's shocking, and it's really exciting.
The tampon was definitely like
it was
the
fantastic.
Brass ring.
So fucking great, man. I loved it. It
was hilarious and disgusting.
It was fantastic, and it's so like again,
also all uber feminist as well, which is kind of cool,
and in a really meaningful way. It's not like playing what it is as a gag. It's just it's playing the gear shift of the movie as a gag. Like you didn't expect this to get so intense so fast because she just ate a shitload of mushrooms. So what do you expect? And the movie is sort of like reveals its own sort of agenda with you. It's like we are cutting down to the bone of what she is really thinking about, and what her real challenges are, and we just do it so fast that it's kind of funny. And it's again, like I love the fact the movie is so openly and realistically sexual all the time, like in a non-judgy way, is terrific, and I wish that were more universal. It's really, really beautiful.
More movies like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not even a question. It's really gorgeous.
I'm going to go one for that. I wish more movies like this would be celebrated.
Absolutely.
It's not just that these movies get made, because these movies do get made. We constantly find them. This is one thing we do at Martini Giant is we find these movies and or are suggested by our great fans who's like, nope, you need to watch this one, and we'll do that. And so we find these things. But the fact is, people don't celebrate them. They don't celebrate this movie as it should. They don't celebrate Blonde as it should be celebrated. They don't celebrate
because it's hard to take this stuff on. And not to overpraise ourselves.
Much easier to celebrate When Harry Met Sally.
Right. And I don't mean like any of that is self-praise for Martini Giant. I'm just saying like it is like this is the way that anyone can and should take on a movie, is to say like, what is this movie actually trying to say to me? Like what are we trying to get at? And if you open yourself up to that, you're going to have an experience that helps you and changes you. And like as the movie intends. Or if you don't like it, you'll be able to actually express why you didn't think it worked without just sort of defensively pushing it away, which doesn't really help anyone. Because if you do have a point to make with what you're saying in criticism, it should be as helpful as the movie would have been. And it's an opportunity to say something real. And so that's why my initial attack with the dude is fuck off. I hate the New Yorker. Now I'm going to try and move it to...
Did you respond at all?
No, I did not going to do that. This guy just trying to make his living, and it's all good. But but through thinking about the movie, I do want to say like the appropriate, I can, by talking about the movie, I can see like, okay, I should back off. Like this dude is only reacting because he's afraid, and I'm reacting to him because I'm afraid of people like him doing this. Right. Because we live in a world that once people are reactive, nobody learns anything.
That's
anymore.
all we are now. We're just about reactions. Okay.
Unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yes.
Yeah. That is where we are.
And that's where I was when I was just like, fuck that guy and fuck the New Yorker. Like, I mean, that's the feelings I was having. And
I'm not going to try to dismiss. Let's get off the New Yorker thing because
I'm just saying that's like that. Like that's all I'm saying is like that's the usefulness of this movie.
I know.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That's something that I can learn from in this movie, and that's what made me like it so much.
So what we find out soon after that is she runs into his Axel's, her first boyfriend, or not first boyfriend, but the first serious boyfriend, first serious boyfriend in the thing, from his brother that Axel has terminal cancer. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know about it. She figures out that she's still in love with him when she does that whole, because I think that's when it happens, when she goes to the gym and she sees him on in there. So all of a sudden Axel is back into her life, even though he's not, right? And then she doesn't do anything about it at all when she started enamored by him until she finds out that she's pregnant. And it wasn't until she finds out that she's pregnant that she decides to see Axel, because it's about her.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Like this is the thing that broke us
to the mic.
This is the thing that came between them because of her.
Right.
And now she's
about being a mom and can I be a mom or whatever, because she doesn't want to be a mom with the new boyfriend. She wants to be a mom with Axel.
Yeah. And now she's Axel's like dying. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's like the great meme of like what how's it go? The consequences of my own actions. Like how could guess who's here? It's the consequences of your own actions.
Right.
like we're back in the beginning of the movie, and now she's like, what the fuck do I do?
Right.
Now that this is happening and you're dying.
Yeah. And we realized Axel is terrified of dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the best part of the film for me. It was really
beautiful. It's really, and his perspective that he offers on where he's at is very moving.
Right.
Yeah. Like I think that guy is a really genuinely great actor, and it's nice that they sort of hold back on how good he is until then. Like he's good in the beginning of the movie, but he's not. Nothing's really required of him.
Right.
And then in the end of the movie, they let him off the leash a little bit, and it's very, very affecting.
And I think he was really well cast in terms of obviously his acting, as we just mentioned, but also his looks, right? His looks were mild, very mild the whole time, right? Nothing. And so it's when she leaves him, it's fine because, he's okay. Right? He's not super handsome Hollywood, right?
Right.
And then when he starts to have a real fight and a real soul and a real this and that, she's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's the person I actually need. And it's not just about who, like, it was just, it was hard.
I wasn't paying attention and I missed the boat entirely.
I missed everything that was amazing about him. I missed because I was being too selfish.
It's her depth of field was what a 0.3, whatever you said.
Like, I don't think you can do a 0.8, a 0.3. I mean, a 0.8. I think Barry Lyndon. What's that lens on there they used on Barry Lyndon?
The fucking space lens they used for that.
Yeah,
thing. It's ridiculous.
Mike.
The candlelight lens that they used on that thing. Yeah, that was very funny.
The lens. Just so you know, like it was a lens specifically that was used. There was 3 of them that were made. One was a NASA lens, went to space. And then one Stanley Kubrick got, and it was an f.8 or 0.78
something ridiculously fast lens.
Now they do make lenses that are that fast, but not to that quality. And
it had never been done for movies before, ever.
Never been used in a movie. And then Kubrick used it on Barry Lyndon, where he basically says, like, I can light. And remember, this is before denoising or anything else. When film couldn't get an ISO that was like it was. So they used they candle lit shots with this lens, and it was like
crazy,
and beautiful, and like it's soft and
all
it's
that
great.
For what's his name, Ryan O'Neal.
It's the best, man. Ryan O'Neal, I think if I were Ryan O'Neal, I would be offended by Kubrick casting me in that movie, but it is a genius move. Like Ryan O'Neal is the wrong person to be in Barry Lyndon, and that's why he's the right person to be in Barry Lyndon. It is hysterical to me every single time I watch it. You want to see someone who's out of his depth? Here's Ryan O'Neal.
Like Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, and
this is it. This is why I love Tom Cruise, but the reason why you cast Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut is like he carries a Hollywood Tom Cruise story into a Kubrick dream film, and you're like, no wonder why you look so fucking puzzled. And it's fantastic. It looks great. God bless you, Tom Cruise. I love Top Gun 2. Cried. Loved it. Incredible filmmaker.
I think he's definitely an asset to Hollywood.
Absolutely.
And I would never really understood it until probably about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. No, because
I got caught up in the whole freaking shtick with him and Scientology, and I never
dancing on the couch.
Dancing on a couch is a thing. Is like, what an asshole. And I'm like, no, I missed the whole thing.
He's a dedicated professional who has kept the system going, and he is an incredible filmmaker. With a real love of movies, and I really respect that. And so, I think it's beautifully ironic that he is in a Kubrick film, but it's also totally appropriate that he's in a Kubrick film.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's really great.
Okay, so she talks to the guy. There's this big revelation about herself. And you start to really understand that it's hard to explain how important that scene is, but it is just brilliant. He's pretty much, he's in hospice.
He's on the way out.
Yeah.
It's total hospice.
Yep.
And then somehow she is making it about herself as opposed to him dying. And he's trying to explain to her things about himself, which is the only thing they should be talking about. But instead, she's talking about being pregnant.
Yep.
And how she doesn't, know what to do about the baby.
And he is very sweet about it.
He's very sweet, and he talked to her about it because he loves her still.
Yeah,
and obviously she does too.
Yeah, and he says, like, I need you to know that you're the love of my life, and you don't have to say anything about that. That's just where I was at. I just want you to know how amazing you are, and which is, essentially, if she had any central self-worth, then she would stop being so wildly off kilter, you know, and you know, like she's getting there. She's getting there, but it's very, very difficult. And like, I really feel like there's a bit of a blonde style, like the baby is sort of the person who needs to arrive, right?
Yeah.
There's a symbol there that's like, there's another person you're meant to be, and it's growing inside you, and you should find a way to embrace this somehow.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something gentle going on with that, not in a pro-lifey way, but in a personal way.
Yeah. So she takes that, after that meeting, she tells Norwegian Adam Driver that about the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to separate while she decides what she wants to do with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's in the shower, and we see blood running down her leg, indicating she miscarried.
Mm-hmm.
At which point she smiles.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Because now pressure's off.
Yeah, she's free.
She can be back to herself.
Right. She's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that smile.
Yeah, it's like it shows that she's troubled.
Yeah. Of course.
But usually when they're troubled in films, you want to see more of a background. The father scene and all that didn't give enough depth to what her thing was. So, like, what caused her such pain to become so selfish? And I just, you know what I mean? There wasn't enough backstory for me, because then you perceive her as either really selfish or semi-psychotic or, you know, disturbed.
Well, here's my feeling on that. I hear where you're coming from. But my feeling is that I like that they didn't make the father like the reason, you know?
No,
because
to be so selfish, you want to know where.
Well, this is what I'm saying is like, that is who you are when you're that old. Like, it's like, that is, I look back on like my own life and everyone I have ever known, that period of their life is.
Yep, trust me, it was hell for me.
Yeah, and so like it seemed like a very time. It seemed like I've seen people make like, well, looking back, you just go, I made some very cruel decisions, some very bad decisions. I've seen everyone I know has made all their bad decisions happen in that moment of time, and all for the same reason. It's very hard to have any perspective about yourself, literally at all. And so, like I said, I hear where you're coming from, but I like that it let the responsibility be on her rather than taking it off of her to like. Okay,
but do you see any growth in her? Because the whole time you're cheering for her in a way. Yeah, then at the end, it's like
that's the point. I don't think you really see growth in her.
It's not minute, but it's not satisfying in the way that a normal Hollywood movie would be.
Yes, but the growth. She goes and spends time with him. And, you know, she bravely went and did it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think she's a bad person.
No.
You know? And so, like, I think that, like, if the movie were to give more of a reason for her narcissism in a more explicit way, like her dad was a really terrible person who did terrible things to her or whatever it is, like, that takes the responsibility off of her. And really, the movie is trying to put the responsibility at our feet. Like, you really have to be careful of this in your own life, you know, like you really have to, because this is a good person that you can see the mistakes that she is making that you probably feel sympathetic with in some way. Like, you can't just put it off on other people. Like, you have to take responsibility. And that's extraordinarily difficult to do in that time.
I understand, but I think what I was saying is that she basically, I know it's her responsibility. I guess my thing is that she started at such a high note at a thing that's hard to do in medical school, and it's just this downward cascading. You kind of look at her differently than just somebody who's selfish, that maybe she's, you know, a little mentally disturbed. And I think with the smile, that's what I got. And that's the way I felt.
I certainly,
there's a little bit of Carrie in there.
Yeah, like I hear. I'm not quite as hard on her as you are, but I hear where you're coming from.
But yes, I know that life, and I it had a lot of impact on me. It really did. For certain things in my life right now, and just thinking about time has passed and all this stuff, and dealing with stuff right now. And it hit home. But at the same time, I didn't cheer for her as much as I did 90% of the movie. I just was like,
there's sadness. It's real sadness, where you're just like, it leaves you going, oh, you're close, but I think that's what the movie where it wants you to be, when you leave and you need to feel, I think what it's trying to say is like, it's trying to leave this in your lap rather than solve it for you, I guess. And so you have that anxiety coming out of the film that makes you self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
And it's uncomfortable, but it is I think it's probably for me it was the right choice. I think it's the right, like, you want to land that movie in a way that makes you go, okay, I'm with you, kind of, and the ending shot, like what I was referencing before, like you compare the beginning shot to the ending shot of her looking through photos of other people on her computer in a much more bland, regular setting. Like, it's not the romantic, Hollywoodish lighting of the party and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just her on her computer, side shot again, but she's like looking out at this window onto other people, because now she's working for like a film set and taking photos. Like, she's doing something that's closer to what she wanted to do, and she's offering advice to the actor, as to like how she might want to use.
And that actress is married too?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. The director?
No. At the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the same woman that goes out?
It's the same woman. It's the same one. Yeah, exactly. So like, it's the same woman that her ex-boyfriend is the same woman.
It's the father.
It's the father. Yeah. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I like that.
No, I thought that was her. Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. I just didn't catch it. I love that.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that's what it was.
I'm with you. I may have missed the
But
cue.
she also sees herself.
By the way, I have a question.
The baby was like the baby that never happened. She sees that too.
Is that her?
I took it as
I have a question.
And that's another person. Yeah.
That's what I took. But here's the thing. Was it the same actress that was playing the actress at the table?
Maybe.
Actress at the table.
Okay,
Which table?
So our protagonist, the girl, who's the selfish girl, did she portray the actress in the television show at the end that was being
Is it the
done?
same woman?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because when
I first saw her, I was like, now she's an actress.
I thought the same thing. I was
a little confused about that.
Yeah. So maybe that's the case. That'd be interesting.
But then she's photographing that same actress.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but they never did both of them together.
Right. It's a A/B shots. So maybe that's true. And it would certainly, like, symbolically, that's kind of interesting if that's what they did. Because like it is exactly what they're like. She is like, that is that's a dramatic version of her. Right. And you're sort of stepping outside of the movie for her to see herself in a scene that might have been a corny version of a scene that might have been from the movie, only in which she is being left. Right. And so, like, that's why I think that there's the slightest bit of up value to.
I gotta watch that ending again because I think it's confusing. Right. And
but
it's a
at least
good
hear
ending
me
because
out
I think that you're right. It's herself.
Right.
But as an actress. And then the Adam Driver guy is back with a baby.
Yes, and the actress that was playing the one getting the headshots or the set shots goes out, holds a baby, and goes with him. That was the actress. So
it's like she's reflecting back on the life that she could have had.
I think we should watch this again. We get like mildly different interpretations of this. It'd be interesting.
Okay, I just want to say. Let me clarify. So because I have.
We all just watched this like yesterday.
Yeah, no. This morning, as a matter of fact.
Here's the deal. So what I just want to clarify is that the first thing is that when she's taking photos of the actress,
yes,
I thought that the actress was actually, the girl playing the actress at the table where the director was talking to.
I thought it was her too. Yep.
I thought it was her.
Same.
Yes,
as an actress, but just with different makeup.
Yeah, she's blonde and stuff like that.
Blonde and the whole thing. Then at the end, I thought the woman that portrayed the actress left set, and she, oh, thank you, Nance. Thank you, sweet. Left set and goes, and she turns out to be married to the dopey dude.
Yes. Yes, that is what I thought happened.
Right. With a baby.
Yes.
So that's the baby that she never had.
No, that's where we part ways, is that I thought it was just he had a baby with somebody else since years later.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
That's the way I read it.
But the trickery is that this actress played the other actress in the movie, but just had different makeup.
Yeah, that's the question.
Right?
We got to watch this again.
She did dual roles. My feeling, I thought she did dual roles at the end, because there was never a two shot of them. There was always over the shoulder. You meaning they were never in the frame together?
Yeah, I got it.
And then that's actually her, but she just had different makeup because the lips are like, wait, that's her. Her lips are the very same with the jawline thing. And I was just like, huh. And, because I draw, I noticed things differently about mouth proportions. I was like, wait a minute, that's her. Did she become an actress now?
Yeah.
That's why, though, when I saw the baby, I said that's why the last scene was so flat, drab, and depressing. Because I felt like this was Jade, the Woody Allen one.
Blue Jasmine. Which is one of the most depressing endings of all time, but it's brilliant.
That's right.
Right. So I actually took it to be, and this is good that we have different views on this, is like I took it to be that there's a mild amount of growth for her in that she is in a situation where she is literally seeing herself from the outside and trying to see what was wrong with her performance. Like what she did wrong, and then she offers her surrogate self advice. Like that she's missed the boat on these two relationships, that she has enough perspective now that she's starting to process this. She's a professional, she's making money, she is doing something that she does like, and with this actress, she's seeing a version of herself outside of herself that she can have some notes on how you might want to act better. And so like I took it as like this little tiny up note right at the end.
Casey said that he's never seen this film and he has some homework to do now, which yes, you do. It would be great. It's on Canopy for free if you want to get it on Canopy.
I got to join Canopy.
And it's on Hulu with ads.
Easy, or Hulu with ads if you want to do that, but or Hulu in general. But Canopy, man,
hey
like
Casey,
just like you gotta. It's easy. It's free. It's basically
it's
a beautiful library system.
Casey would dig it. It's so well shot, dude. It's such a really beautiful environment. Beautiful film. And it's so beautiful, and you get in the group. Just the mood.
Casey, I know you said you have Hulu without ads, which is fine. I do too. But get Canopy. Canopy is, you are going to be like, why?
The two things we push on Martini Giant are Canopy and Tubi.
Yes. And these none of these are, you have to pay for.
Yeah. This
so Canopy. Canopy with a K.
Bizarro,
I know it's spelled wrong.
Films galore. It's great.
Yeah. It's basically like
I'm on a tight budget. Nancy's after me.
There's $0 you have to spend on Canopy.
I had to get rid of HBO Max because I'm doing this Midjourney stuff, and it's just, I'd rather put the money in Midjourney.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, what you're doing on Midjourney is pure.
You should see what I did tonight.
Should also note, those of you guys who are listening to this live, for those of you who are not listening to it live,
live baby.
But on Monday, there's going to be a episode of CG Garage, which is the three of us. We're going to be talking about.
Are you going to send the link out that I made for you?
Which link? Yes, of course. That's going to go on the page.
That was a good little conversation we had. I liked that quite a bit. That was nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't like focusing on any particular anything. It's just
we're not. We were focusing on films. We were chilling out. We were talking. So it's so check it out. It's coming out on Monday. It's not a 3-hour episode. I couldn't do that to Martini Giant or the CG Garage.
Yeah, they're not ready. They're not ready for the full boat.
But there's a lot of cool stuff, and we talk a lot about the cool stuff that Eric's been doing. And I know a lot of people have been hearing it in spits and spats here and there, but we actually get into it in depth in terms of what he's been doing with AI and especially the story, but he's been trying to tell for the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I've since the 80s, but really nitty gritty since 5 years.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really great. And especially with Midjourney, you've done unbelievable work that everyone should definitely take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So first of all, I don't know if EGZ is still here. He is, and if he's still here, it's got to be like 4:00 in the morning.
God
You
bless
have
you.
been so amazing, and first of all, I want to thank him. Congratulations, and thank you for recommending this film to us, because this is what makes it so special. Is introducing us to things that we need to know about. He was also the one who recommended Insomnia, which was also fun.
That was great. That's true.
Yeah, and so, but doing this, Annie Hall was a great pairing
it's a great
with this.
combo.
This works really well for what we're doing, because Annie Hall, I think a lot of people have seen, and then they haven't necessarily seen the other movie, which is a great way of introducing.
It was very refreshing, and like I've said a couple of times now, like I found myself in kind of a loop where I think the anxiety of the COVID years and all this kind of jazz, like I am more apt to watch movies I've seen before because they're comfortable, rather than strike out and see new things. I think everyone sort of understands what I'm talking about there. It is great to have people force me out of that. I appreciate it very much. This was a great film, and it really woke up my filmy brain.
It gave you some fighting in you, and you're going to go after everyone at the New Yorker.
That's it. I'm taking them down. No apologies to the New Yorker and that guy. He says okay.
And then, next time we'll just go to the Martini Giant Oslo Film Festival.
That's right. The Golden Hour Film Festival. It's 6 hours long.
The Golden Hour Film Festival. I almost feel like that we should
do something.
Someone register that domain. The Golden Hour Film Festival.
That's right. That's right.
But Dan gets it wrong. It's like, I got it. I got the Golden Shower Film Festival.
Yes.
Dan, no. It was
Hold on to that anyway.
It's no, Dan, you got it wrong. It's Golden Hour.
I think we can sell that. No, that's awesome, guys. Yeah, this is a great one, and it was very inspiring, filmmaking wise as well. So please check it out and let us know what you think. That was really, really good.
Absolutely. Okay, you guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
Good show, guys.
Excellent.
All right, drink.
Talk.
Drink.